You are watching second round coverage of the FCS Championship on ESPN. And here in Nacogdoches, Texas, it is a Lone Star State matchup on tap. Stone Earl and Abilene Christian making the trip to the piney woods of East Texas to square off with Stephen F. Austin, the 7-seed SFA, the 10-seed ACU, both conference champions, and both want to head to the quarterfinals to face either the 2-seed Montana State or Yale. That game just about to kick off as well. The FCS Championship game now less than a month away, January 5th. In Nashville. And yes, here in Nacogdoches, they always have the axe on hand, do the Lumberjacks. So glad you're here with us. Along with former North Texas quarterback LaDarren McClain, I'm Ted Emmerich. It's not just a second-round matchup. It is the second meeting this season between Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian. It was 3 months ago to the day that ACU came out on top, and today brings the next chapter in what is a budding rivalry.
Yeah, it continues to grow, and if you look at these two teams, they're obviously different teams from the first time they played earlier in the season. So with the stakes now being at the highest, it's going to come down to which team can manage their emotions and execute the game plan.
Yeah, ACU definitely executed last week in the first round against Lamar, and their quarterback, Stone Earl, certainly did.
Hey, he's been fantastic. That was his second consecutive game with 300-plus yards passing and an 81% completion rate against Lamar last week. Listen, the stats are off the charts, but what you don't see are the intangibles, his toughness, his leadership. Not only does the offense get in behind him, but this defense rallies behind their QB1.
Earl and that ACU offense facing one of the elite defenses in the FCS in Stephen F. Austin.
You know, we talked to defensive coordinator Mike Moots. He says, hey, I've got a good group of kids. They want to be great. Well, they're downright elite. And with these types of numbers across the board, it makes it difficult for opposing offenses. On top of that, they've got an offense to match that's 14th in the nation in scoring.
SFA said that first meeting against ACU, they underestimated Stone Earl. They said we cannot make that same mistake this time around. ACU will get the ball first because SFA won the toss. They defer to the second half, and off we go on a beautiful day here in East Texas. The return past the 20. Adrian Baltrip, and Abilene Christian will start from near the 25-yard line. With Stone Earl, it really is a full circle moment, LD. He started his career at ACU, played 2 years, then spent 3 years mainly as a backup at the FBS level with North Texas and Marshall. He has returned to ACU, and he's finishing his career on a high note.
You know what? All that means to me, Ted, is experience. Even though he's been in some different places, this kid has still played a lot of football, and so that translates to what you have, and it's a very efficient offense. And if you're not careful, this offense can hit you with big plays after big play.
They start with Jordan Vaughn on the ground against one of the best run defenses in the FCS, and only a yard because Eli Fields, the defensive tackle, collapsed on top of him. Now, Stone Earl, you recap his journey. He started 7 games for ACU back in 2021. Then he wanted to move up to the FBS. A couple of years at North Texas, started 2 games there. He opened last season as the starter at Marshall before he was benched, and returned to Abilene Christian to close out his career. Earl swings it out on second down, and Vaughn has it again, this time on the reception past the 35-yard line, and it's a first down for the Wildcats.
Well, that's what you're going to have to do against this defense. You're going to have to be patient and take what they give you. Here it is, a check down to the running back, and that's the key today, because Earl, as good as he is, this defense, Mike Moots and company, they're trying to change the picture, but if he can stay comfortable back there and just be patient and take what they give you, he can be successful today.
With a fresh set of downs, here comes some pressure, and Earl escapes. Stone Earl so dangerous, and Earl lost the football. At the end, he is ruled down in SFA territory at the 47. Fields makes another tackle, but Stone Earl avoided Aaron Austin in the backfield to rip off that big gain.
And here's one of the things that he can hurt a defense, and yeah, he's clearly, you know, down by contact. I think his feet have to be a big player in this game as well, because when the defense plays well, that's the ultimate neutralizer, is a quarterback that is mobile in the pocket.
flag down as Earl gave it to Rovon Banks Jr. Alex Perella is the referee today. He and his crew from the CAA.
Number 77, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Now they call it against the left tackle, George French II, the Pittsburgh transfer in his second year with Abilene Christian. So a 1st and 15 for ACU. And they do give it to Banks, who finds some space on the perimeter. And Banks, such a breakaway threat, one of the fastest players for Abilene Christian, rips one off. Aaron Sears pushed him out near the 40.
And this is a nice run. Good blocking outside on the perimeter. And that's what the Wildcats offense wants to do. They want to be able to run those outside zones. And if you can give their running backs, obviously Banks there, if you give them a crease 10, they've got the ability to really hurt this defense. And that's a good way to respond to the penalty to now get them in 2nd and short here.
Banks picked up 12. Now the toss to Banks. Got a block from Javon Gibson, but Stephen F. Austin rallies well. Gain of only a yard. So a 3rd and 2 upcoming for Abilene Christian, LD.
Well, first of all, that's a heck of a job by Jalen Mayo, the cornerback, to come inside and fight that block. And Gibson, that's a tough block for any wide receiver, is to try to stop that inside penetration from the cornerback. And so here we are. They're really the first big 3rd down of the game here.
ACU 15th in the nation, converting 3rd downs at a 47% clip this season. Stephen F. Austin 2nd in the nation in 3rd down defense. And ACU converts. Edie Henry, the tight end. He's not so itty at 250 pounds. Given name Brian, move the sticks.
And this is a beautiful play design. Graham Harrell going back to the old days where they have these natural rubs. You see Dallas Dudley there. He's out there to pick the intended defensive player that's covering the tight end. And it's a natural rub, and you pick up the big 3rd down there for a 1st down.
You said it, LD, yes. That Graham Harrell is the offensive coordinator for ACU. So a version of the air raid for Abilene Christian. On 1st down, Earl dumps it for J.B. Mitchell II, the 5th-year senior transfer from Eastern Michigan, and a gain of about 5. Harrell, the West Texas legend, going to go into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Next week in Las Vegas. Keith Patterson hired him. He moved to the air raid last year with Rick Bowie, who's now at Western Kentucky, and he's continued it with Graham Harrell.
Well, I know we'll talk about this coaching staff throughout this game, but he's assembled the Avengers, in my opinion, with the elite coaching prowess that's on this ACU sideline, and Graham Harrell certainly won there.
On 2nd and 5, the screen for Javon Gibson, who has become an alpha at receiver these last 3 weeks, and he's got the 1st down as ACU moves into the red zone.
Well, Gibson's got this big body. They can move him across the formation. This is essentially like a big fullback. You've got offensive linemen out in front. It's a screen pass, but they treat it like a run play, and it gets this defense to have to chase. And when you can do that, you got nice creases and angles to block there as well.
Gibson coming off 3 straight 100-yard games. He's averaging 150 yards in that span. Earl has plenty of time. Into the flat. Henry again. And pushed out inside the 10, close to the line to gain at the 8.
You know, Ted, what I love about this opening drive is that this offense has answers. When the defense plays zone, they've got an answer for it. When they play man, they've got another answer for it. And there it is one more time. And you can see what they've done this season in the red zone. When they get down here, they're not playing games. They're not just kicking field goals, but they're looking to score touchdowns, 30 on the season. That's how efficient this offense has been.
They know this is critical down here against one of the best red zone defenses in the FCS. Earl on the keeper, and he is snowed under after a gain of a yard. Earl also lost his helmet here. Ed Bobineau made the tackle. And Earl heads toward the sideline. ACU can keep him in the game if they call a timeout. But Quade Hawkins, the backup quarterback, comes on, LD.
Yeah, this is kind of those situations to where you're like, okay, do we need our timeouts? It's early in the game. And more times than not, your backup quarterback may come in and just hand this thing off, and then you can get your starter back in the game at QB.
Hawkins in his third year with Abilene Christian, transferring from Troy, and instead he throws it to Jordan Vaughn. And Vaughn is twisted down near the 5-yard line by Jalen Mayo. One of two excellent corners that SFA offers along with Charles Demings, the NFL prospect.
Yeah, and that's just one of those safe throws. It's like a long handoff. You just get the quarterback to throw it, the running back out into the flat. But here we are, third down again.
And Stone Earl back in the game, of course.
This is one of these things where even when the defense plays man, they have these receivers picking each other and crossing, and then somebody has been able to come open every single time down here on this drive.
12th play of this opening drive. 3rd and goal. Earl. It's broken up at the goal line. He wanted J.J. Henry. Michael Patterson III, the nickel corner, got a hand on it. And Abilene Christian will have to settle for 3.
Yeah, and I think Patterson was just a touch too early here. He got away with this one, but if they don't call it, you just keep playing. Here it is. He's trying to find the inside path there. And that shot didn't tell you there, but from our point of view, he was probably a beat early as that pass gets there.
Former Houston Cougar Patterson breaking it up, and here is Brandon Perez. A chip shot field goal from 22 yards, and he connects. So Abilene Christian does strike first, but Stephen F. Austin bowing its neck at the end of that drive. A 3-0 lead for Keith Patterson's team on the road. Well, 3 months ago to the day in Abilene Christian, Stephen F. Austin meeting in non-conference play. Week 2, SFA was up 14-0. ACU responded with 28 unanswered points. Stone Earl with the touchdown run. And then the biggest play of the game, the strip sack. And in the end zone, Kagan Roach recovering it for Abilene Christian for a touchdown. A 28-20 ACU victory. And now here we are in December. These two teams meeting again. Colby Carthel, SFA's head coach, LD, told us this week, the word revenge has not been mentioned once. He says, I don't want my players angry today. I just want them at their best.
Yeah, and that says a lot about what he's trying to say. It's a different team. It's a different type of game. We've got to be the best versions of the Lumberjacks is what he told us in this game today.
Richard Rees, the former Baylor Bear, on the return for Stephen F. Austin, out to the 25. Sam Vidlak is the quarterback for Stephen F. Austin. He traded the Douglas Firs in the Pacific Northwest. He's from Applegate, Oregon, for the Piney Woods of here in East Texas. Southland Conference Newcomer of the Year last season. Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year this season.
Now, he's got all the intangibles, and we talked about quarterbacks with experience. They just seem to gravitate when they get to the right place with a system that fits, and Vidlak is the same way that we talked about Earl. He's played a lot of football, and his tool set is off the charts.
He swings it out to Jarrell Wimbley on first down. It couldn't bring it in. So it's 2nd and 10. And really, the story of that first game, LD, was the 3 turnovers by Vidlak. 1 interception. You saw the fumble in the end zone recovered for a touchdown. He had 2 lost fumbles in that game.
Yeah, and when you play these teams that, in my opinion, they're evenly matched, but when you have these rivalry games, you've got to play the cleanest. And typically the team that can play the cleanest, and we'll see it today, will more likely win the game.
Vidlak a little off target on that throw. Looking for Blaine Green, and it's 3rd and 10 just like that.
Well, this is the one thing that I asked the coaches about being off a week, right? The rust, the timing. You can simulate so much in the week of a practice. You get the rest, you're getting healthy, but it's just the little nuances of playing full speed in a game. And right now, you just may see a little bit of rust from sitting for a week there by Vidlak.
Kylan Harris, his top target, motions out of the backfield. On 3rd and 10, Abilene Christian brings the blitz, and Vidlak airmails it over the head of Harris, and SFA goes 3 and out.
Yeah, that's always the case. No matter if you have a week off, right? The team that has been playing the week before just has that energy. They just have that little bit of extra juice. And sometimes it takes a series. It may take 2 series. It may take a quarter for the offense to catch up to get back into game speed. But, yeah, that's a 3 and out. And now you've got momentum still riding for the Wildcats here.
Aussie Lockie Pozzebon lifts it to Tyson Williams. And a little adventure there, but Williams does bring it in just inside the 30. Well, ACU took up almost the half of the first quarter with their opening drive. And after a 3 and out, the Wildcats have it back. Abilene Christian runs the air raid on offense and calling the plays. One of the best to ever quarterback in that offense. Graham Harrell, of course, the Texas Tech legend. And what a coup for ACU to have him. All of his experience at the Power 4 level as a coordinator. We know what he did as a player in Lubbock at Texas Tech.
You know, it's fantastic. And what you don't see, because I'm so close to Texas high school football, arguably one of the best high school quarterbacks in this state to ever play high school football. And I tell you what, his mind of what he knows can pass it on to all these quarterbacks that he's come across, and every system that he's been a part of has been very, very successful.
Now, we asked him this week what he learned from his time with the late Mike Leach. He said, keep it simple. Yeah, we run basically 3 run concepts, 3 pass concepts, and just dress it all up, and also keep it fun.
I love it. I love it. And that, when you can make it simple for an offense, these guys gravitate to it, and they can execute, and you free them up. And that's the big thing when you get into playoff football, is freeing up your guys to play at a high speed.
Earl flings it on first down, and Javon Gibson couldn't quite bring it in. Jalen Mayo providing the coverage. And you think about the Mike Leach coaching tree, LD. I mean, it has so many branches, and a lot of names on that list played for Leach, let alone coached alongside him.
It's phenomenal. This right here is so incredible to look at that. And everywhere you look, those coaches have a high level of success. You know, even Eric Morris, that's close to us, being North Texas. And it's just impressive to see that tree continue to be very, very successful.
Second down, here's Jordan Vaughn, the 235-pound running back, rumbling to the 35. So 3rd and 3 on the way for Abilene Christian.
That's a really nice tackle there by Cameron Riddick. That's a sophomore safety coming up and making a play. And we talked to Coach Moose. He said he's got to be the eraser. I think he didn't make that play. I think that's going to be a nice, easy first down for Jordan Vaughn as he's trying to turn the corner. It's a big 3rd down here, I think, for this defense. They need to get back on track, and very methodical that opening drive for the Wildcats offense, taking nearly over 7 minutes off the clock.
SFA showing a blitz here and a flag down with the play clock running down.
Offense.
It's a delay of game.
Penalty. 3rd down.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't see that happen too often there. It looks like they had plenty of time to get set up at the offensive line, but there's a little bit of miscommunication there getting the play in, and these guys get to the line of scrimmage.
I mean, it's a very different conversation, isn't it now, LD, from 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8?
Well, you got to go back to those middle pages of your playbook now, whereas before you had the first page and you could just pick anything that you wanted. Here, this has got to be one of your best 3rd and plus 7-8 yards here.
Free rusher up the middle, and Earl can't connect with Gibson. Jalen Mayo tracking him, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about, Ted. It's different for the defense, too, because now this defense can send guys, and they can overrun the blocking, and they didn't sack him, but the pressure was certainly there to make that pass off the mark.
What did Colby Carthel, Stephen F. Austin's head coach, tell us this week? We have to limit the damage that Stone Earl does. They have to contain him as much as possible. And they did on that drive. Hugo Nash, also an Aussie. They are everywhere. The position of punter across college football. And Kylan Harris with the fair catch for Stephen F. Austin. Timeout. Lumberjacks have the ball back, down 3-0 in the FCS playoffs. Well, after putting together a 10-2 regular season, Stephen F. Austin was ecstatic. They knew that they were in the FCS playoffs. They were in the automatic bid by winning the Southland Conference. But to see a top 8 seed and the first round bye that comes with it, that is why they were so fired up. LD, they felt like they were disrespected by the pollsters all season in the FCS, but they were ultimately rewarded.
Yeah, and it gave them a week to recover. That's what Coach Carthel told us. And not only that, they got time to spend with their families, and I think that spells a lot. Now, you just got to get to game speed, and we saw that on that opening drive. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others to see if they can get back on track offensively here.
It's a 10-game win streak for Stephen F. Austin, the third longest streak in the FCS. Jarrell Wimbley picking his way forward for about 10 yards. Kagan Roach and Dorian Plumley collaborate for Abilene Christian. It's a first down.
Well, the one thing that you don't need timing or anything like that to get back in sync with is running the ball, because these big guys up front have been good all season long, and they run the ball awfully well. They were 4th in the Southland Conference in rushing yards per game. Get back to the basics.
And right back to Wimbley, and he's into ACU territory with a gain of about 4. Now, Wimbley enjoying a career year, the senior from Houston, closing in on 1,000 yards. The coaches say he's that classic running back who's really not that big, might not be that fast, but he just makes a lot of play.
Yeah, an offensive coordinator, Chris Ross, says his contact balance is off the charts, and we'll see that here this afternoon.
This time, Abilene Christian has a read on him at the line of scrimmage. Chris Herpin, the defensive tackle from Pearland, Texas, also there in the greater Houston area, wrapping him up.
Now, these two big bodies in the interior of this defense. You got Rousseau, number 95. We hadn't called him yet, but you got Chris Herpin, who makes the play. They just stalemate the offensive line. You don't necessarily have to be in the backfield, but if you can hold your ground, that's a great job there defensively by Herpin.
Now 3rd and 7, blitz up the middle, pass is tipped at the line of scrimmage, incomplete. Zion Fonua delivering the hit on Vidlac, and that play never had a chance.
I thought Fonua was outstanding last week against Lamar. He had 9 individual tackles and a half tackle for loss last week as well. Here he is. He comes in untouched. And that's a missed assignment there in pass protection. You can never have one of these next level defensive linebackers come free and have a clean shot on your QB.
And Fonua became a starter mid-season when Abilene Christian changed their scheme. It has really allowed this defense to level up here in the latter half. Tyson Williams, the fair catch near the 10-yard line for Abilene Christian. Well, the FCS playoffs continue with the quarterfinals next Friday and Saturday on ABC, ESPN, and of course right here on ESPN Plus. For more information, visit NCAA.com, the home for all NCAA championships. Abilene Christian trying to reach the quarterfinals in the FCS for the first time ever. It's their 13th year in Division I. Stephen F. Austin hasn't been to the quarterfinals since 2009, so plenty at stake here today. Stone Earl and ACU had to punt their last time. They put together a 7-minute drive to start this game that resulted in a field goal. Earl into the flat for Gibson. Cannot turn the corner. Malachi Williams hops on his back.
And that's the type of defensive stop that you prepare on Monday of game week. You know, seeing that formation, knowing some of the subtle nuances, Michael Patterson's the first guy on the outside to keep his contained. And once he did that, Malachi Williams just came and cleaned things up.
Loss of a couple on the play, so 2nd and 12. And ACU runs it. And Rovon Banks makes it to the 13-yard line to bring up 3rd down against Colby Carthel's SFA defense.
You know, we talked about Coach Graham Harrell and this air raid offense. It's a little bit different than the usual. They huddle. right? They get to the huddle. They're trying to be methodical. We saw it on the first drive of the game, but they're picking their spots, and sometimes they slow down, sometimes they pick up, and here's another big third down.
Earl hanging in the pocket, and the pass is almost intercepted by Malachi Williams. He wanted Dallas Dudley, and it was almost a takeaway for the Jacks. Fourth down.
And that was arguably a chance for the biggest play in the game, and here it is. Earl, you can kind of see what he's looking at, and he just does not see the undercutting linebacker, Malachi Williams, there. And it looks like two Lumberjacks were fighting for that interception. That could have been a huge play to turn the tide in this game.
So another punt for Abilene Christian, and Kylan Harris is back deep again. Bugs Mortimer, the premier punt return man in college football this season, was a game-time decision coming in. Harris is explosive as well, though, and a great return by Kylan Harris, close to the Abilene Christian 30-yard line. So Mortimer down, Harris up, and Stephen F. Austin has a golden opportunity now.
Well, you don't lose a ton when you've got Kylan Harris back there. More coaches like to send that return to their sideline, and you can see that wall trying their best to develop. And Ted, that's what you need to advance in the playoffs. You've got to have all three phases of your team ready to go. And how about the special teams for the Jacks there to step up and give them ultimate field position here?
Now, Colby Carthel says this team is built on not just defense, but also special teams, the return game, covering kicks. That has been the edge for most of this season. Now can the offense capitalize? Vidlak escapes the pocket. And Vidlak scrambling to the 25. That's a good sign, LD, for SFA. Vidlak has been banged up for most of the season. To your point earlier, the bye really helped him heal up before the playoffs.
Absolutely, and sometimes at quarterback, we get so caught up in passing the numbers and sitting in the pocket. You're still a football player. That's a good sign that he can get out, get his legs involved in the game.
Now the counter with Jarrell Wembley. And Wembley pushing close to the line to gain at the 20. Stood up by Will Schaefer, but he picks up 5.
You know, I've always felt like when you play quarterback, the entire team is looking upon you for some kind of spark, especially when the game is tight. You really haven't moved the ball much on offense. And that little run play by Vidlak, the play before, that could be the thing that gets him into the flow of the game. It's not necessarily taking a hit or completing a pass. It's the little bitty subtle runs in a game like that.
Vidlak keeps it down the seam, a catch and a touchdown for Gerard Ademo. His first career touchdown, and what a time for it.
I think this is a fantastic job. Chris Ross, the OC at play action pass, sells out. And these linebackers come up so hard, Ted, that they forget the tight end slipping out behind the defense. And it's a great sell job by Vidlak to throw that thing over the top. And you know, Coach Ross said, hey, this could be the very game that he breaks out. And Ademo there breaking out there for his first TD.
Chris Ross said, do not be surprised if his little used tight end is more involved today. Sure enough, the sophomore from Round Rock and the transfer from South Florida comes up with just his 5th catch of the season and his first ever collegiate touchdown to put the Jacks in front. And it was a short scoring drive thanks to that return of 19 yards by Kylan Harris. Again, filling in for the injured Bugs Mortimer, and Ademo capped it off.
And that's all set up by that punt return by Kylan Harris. Special teams doing their job, setting the offense with perfect field position. And I'm telling you, the quarterback just needs to see it. It's kind of like a golfer. You just need to see the putt go in, and then you get in a streak, and that could be Vidlak's little moment that he gets going and this offense takes off.
I like how the scratch golfer brings up golf as the analogy, as if it is just so easy. All you need is one putt to drop. Now the return for Abilene Christian, close to midfield. Nacogdoches on the return for the Wildcats. And so ACU striking on special teams to set up their offense.
You got to love this matchup because these two teams are so similarly built. You know, they have special players that come up at the right time. Here it is. You got to be fearless in the kick return game, and it's set up nicely that he gets to the outside. And now this Abilene Christian offense set up with ultimate field position right at midfield.
ACU stalled on their last couple of drives after opening with that field goal. And they begin from their own 49. Vaughn pushed back in the backfield. Aaron Austin, the first one to hit him. It's a loss of 3.
And now this defense starting to play downhill. And that's what they've done the entire season. You know, we talked about how elite this defense is. Here it is. The Wildcats love to run that outside zone, but you can see at the point of contact, a lot of Jack's defenders out there setting the edge, making a play in the backfield.
We asked Mike Moots, Stephen F. Austin's defensive coordinator, hey, of all these defensive stats like TFLs and sacks and third down and rush defense, what do you care about the most? He says, I don't care about any of them. Jordan Vaughn on the swing pass puts ACU past midfield. He says, I tell my staff, I don't want to hear about any of our stats. I feel like it would be a distraction. It would affect me as a play caller.
I don't know about you, Ted. I don't think I've ever heard that from a defensive offense, any coach, to say that, because stats are the mark, right? Stats are kind of your mid-season grade of how you're performing throughout the year. But I thought it was actually impressive that he said that, because that just means to me that we're attention to detail and we're playing the game on the field week to week.
3rd and 7. Abilene Christian converted its first third down today. They're 0 for their last 3. They pick up the blitz. Earl off his back foot, and it's incomplete. He was trying to hook up with Balltrip. That pass just died on its way. Michael Patterson had the coverage.
But now you're seeing this defense starting to harass the quarterback. And early in the game, Earl, he had plenty of time on that first drive to pick his receivers apart. But look at the pressure here. You're going to see Kai Thomas. You're going to see Zero. He flashes right there. And anytime you can get the quarterback off his mark and get him moving, that's a good sign for this Jacks defense.
Nash on to punt again for Abilene Christian. And Harris has it go over his head. Can ACU pin Stephen F. Austin deep? And they do. Inside the 5. Excellent coverage downfield. And Stephen F. Austin has to start from its 3-yard line.
That's a fantastic job there, special teams. All these little plays add up in the course of a game, and you need things like this to turn that field position back the other way. Here it is, good hustle, good coverage, and sets your defense up with a chance here to defend their end.
Well, the opposite of a short field this time around for SFA. They started at the Abilene Christian 30 last time. Now from their own 3. And Wembley is cut down after a gain of a yard on the final play of the first quarter. SFA offensive lineman remains down, Chimdia Wiwu, as we hit the end of the first here in Nacogdoches. The winner heads to the FCS quarterfinals. SFA up 7-3 here at home. Well, Bugs Mortimer can only watch today for Stephen F. Austin. He is the preeminent punt return man at every level of college football this year. Nobody has more punt returns for scores this season than Mortimer, the transfer from Western Michigan. In fact, he brought one back in week 2 against Abilene Christian in the final minute. Down 2 scores, Mortimer bringing it back 52 yards for one of his 4 touchdowns this season. We were told coming in by the SFA coaches that he was a game-time decision. He did participate in warm-ups, but he was ruled out with an undisclosed injury. And so Mortimer, return man, slot receiver, can only watch here today his team here at home in Nacogdoches up 7-3 as we start the second quarter.
Well, to me, that's a big-time loss because not only is he in the special teams, punt return game and creating field position, and you can score from that, but even offensively, they can utilize him sometimes in the backfield. They've been able to put him at different positions in wide receiver. That's a huge loss. They got to be able to overcome that here this afternoon.
Jalen Jenkins is the back next to Sam Vidlac. And out of the end zone, Jenkins, a powerful runner, much like Wembley, crosses the 5-yard line. Tackled by Will Schaefer, the All-American linebacker from a year ago. So third down for SFA.
Yeah, and if you're the Wildcats defense, you just got to keep everything contained, because if you can stop them here, you're going to get excellent field position off a punt. And if you're SFA, you got to protect the football, especially down here in your own end.
Remember the fumble in the end zone in week 2 by Vidlac. He tosses it up, and Kylan Harris comes down with it near the 40-yard line. Working against Tyson Williams. Harris pulls it in for a huge gain.
And I don't think there's anything else Tyson Williams can absolutely do in coverage. He's in perfect position, perfect pass, and an even better catch.
33 yards for Kylan Harris. And Jenkins is stopped near the line of scrimmage on first down. One more look, LD.
Yeah, and this is one of these 50-50 balls, and it just shows you the ball skills of Kylan Harris. Even with the defender all over him, he still has the ability to get that thing.
Jenkins breaking through the first level. Jalen Jenkins inside the 30 of Abilene Christian. Escorted out by Plumlee. So a couple of explosive plays on this drive. Remember, SFA started inside their own 5.
And Jenkins is probably the most powerful of this group of running backs for Stephen F. Austin, and you can see his explosiveness there. Nice blocking up front by this offensive line. They run on that left side. Rob Keller, number 71, and Jake Henry, the left tackle and left guard respectively, did a nice combination block to create that seam there.
33 yards for Jalen Jenkins. They feed the hot hand again. And Jenkins muscles for a couple to the 26.
Yeah, and even with this offense not having much success on first down, they've been able to overcome that on second and third, and that's a testament to this offense and the way they can kind of rally behind one another. And it's good play calling again by Chris Ross again.
Now Jenkins' huge gain in the regular season finale against Northwestern State. 113 yards and 3 touchdowns. Vidlac taking a shot. Did he hang on? He did! It's a touchdown! Derek Bowler! Bowler had 2 touchdowns in the regular season finale. He's got 1 in the postseason. And Stephen F. Austin leads by 2 scores.
You know, these receivers for Stephen F. Austin, they're big-bodied receivers. And so they play with physicality, and you can win these 50-50 matchups. You just throw it up. And these receivers are making outstanding plays one-on-one. Tell you what, that's a great job there by Vidlac to recognize the change of the pitcher at the snap. He sees a different look, but finds the matchup, Ted, and just gives this guy a chance to make the play. Hey, when you want to advance in the playoffs, sometimes you just got to draw something in the sand and say, hey, guys, I need you to make a play. And right there, Bowler going up, making a play.
Well, Sam Vidlac misfired on his first 4 passes today. He's completed his last 3, 2 of them for touchdowns, the latest to Derek Bowler.
Yeah, he just needed to get into the game, right? And mentally you can be prepared all you want. Physically you can be prepared all you want, but the two have to come together at the right time. And sometimes quarterbacks can get right on the first snap and do it. Some players may take a hit. But in this case, Vidlac, that run, I think, opened up his game. And this offense hasn't looked back since that one play.
Stephen F. Austin in the FCS playoffs for the first time in 4 years. And here hosting a playoff game for the first time since 2010. Now up 2 scores on Abilene Christian. Of course, that was certainly the case in the meeting in week 2. Adrian Baltrip on the return for Abilene Christian out across the 30. Remember, 3 months ago, it was a 14-0 Stephen F. Austin lead before Abilene Christian piled up 28 unanswered. And now the Wildcats are looking for a similar answer today.
Oh, yeah, make no mistake about it. Abilene Christian is not going to flinch in this game. They have been there, and you can look at the offense this year, 4 95-plus yard scoring drives. But for the Wildcats, this is all had for them. You know, you can go back to even to the UIW game to where they trailed and scored 29 unanswered points in that game in the third quarter, and that was labeled the best quarter of football in ACU history. And so this team does not flinch and look for their best punches here.
Rovon Banks sheds 1 tackle, and he crawls back close to the line of scrimmage. He'll end up losing a yard. Eli Fields made the first hit. Victor Edusuyi finished him off, and it's 2nd and 11.
Well, now this offensive line has got to try to win back the trenches. There's just too much penetration. Eli Fields, the first defensive player. The Southland Conference second team all defensive player up front. You have got to block the head of the snake inside on that defense.
Earl sends it out, incomplete. Intended for Dudley, and Charles Demings, one of the top NFL draft prospects in the FCS, made sure that had no chance.
Well, that is the one place as a quarterback you don't want to throw late, and you don't want to throw inside because, number one, to your point, Ted, arguably one of the best defensive backs certainly in the country, and that's dangerous there if you want to play on that outside.
Demings was invited to the Senior Bowl this week. 3rd and 11. ACU has gone 3 and out their last 3 possessions. Earl escapes, and Stone Earl is slammed at the 35. He needed the 40-yard line. Malachi Williams and Tim Muhammad bringing the lumber for the Lumberjacks.
And that's such an outstanding job by this defense. They show a pressure look, but at the snap of the ball, they bail out, so they're only rushing 4. So they're playing coverage, but this is what they want to do. If the quarterback gets outside of the pocket, we've got to rally to the football, and at time you saw multiple purple jerseys rallying to make that stop.
So 4 consecutive 3 and outs for Abilene Christian. And Nash's punt, fair caught by Harris near the 35. And a timeout here in Nacogdoches. Stephen F. Austin has scored 14 in a row. They want more here in the second round. Well, when April comes around, you're going to hear Charles Demings' name called during the NFL draft. And this week, he received his invite to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, coming up next month. And Charles Demings addressed his team after getting the honor.
So this thank you right here goes to every guy in this jersey, every member on the staff, and everybody who goes to the school that makes SFA what it is. Because without us, there wouldn't be no Charles Demings invited to the Senior Bowl.
One of the very best corners in all of college football at all levels. Demings on his way to the Senior Bowl and considered right now a day 3 pick by ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed. Maybe a 5th round, 6th round. Of course, you go through the draft process and he could improve that standard.
Absolutely, and I just think he has all the things to check the box. He's got great size. He's 6'1", 190 pounds. The NFL loves big quarterbacks that are athletic and run. I think this young man has exceptional character, and that's going to carry him a long, long way.
On first down, Sam Vidlak rips it into Blaine Green for the first down to midfield. Demings came up with the stop to help SFA get the ball back, and now the Jacks on the move again.
You're just seeing a different quarterback. He settled nicely into the game and seeing the field. That's a great route there by Green to show himself across the middle of the field.
22 yards. Now it might be a free play with a flag down. Another deep shot, and this one is incomplete from Vidlak.
Yeah, that's a great job by the center and quarterback to be on the same page to keep this thing going.
Offside, number 8, defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, you're always licking your chops, Ted. When you're back there and you see that defensive lineman jump off, you're licking your chops saying, hey, we can get a big one here. And even if you throw an INT, it's all good. We'll take the yards instead. And now this offense, again, setting themselves a little bit ahead of the chains here.
Now Richard Reese, the Baylor transfer. A first down to the 38, considered the fastest player on the team. And a fresh set of downs for Sam Vidlac and the offense. Now, LD, you said it early, it's like it took him a little time to shake off a bit of rust coming out of the bye, and boy has he. And here's his first incompletion since that 0 for 4 start, as he was trying to connect with Blaine Green.
And that's one there. He kind of short-armed that. Didn't step all the way in to that throw, and they've got guys running open now. And this defense of the Wildcats has been really good in coverage. And now it's time to tighten down the screws because this defense has got to figure out a way to slow them down.
Vidlac again down the boundary. This time for Clayton Wayland. And Noah Mangum had the coverage. So it sets up 3rd and 10 for Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, it looked like Clayton Wayland was thinking go route the entire time when the quarterback was thinking back shoulder. And that's where you've really got to practice that ad nauseum, the quarterback and receiver being on the same page with that. And now here's a chance for the Wildcats defense. This is where you want this offense, 3rd and long. And this should play in favor because now you can get exotic with your defensive looks.
And a flag down with Wembley in that orbit motion behind the quarterback.
False start, number 74, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
It's on Giovanni Allegria, who is in the game, because remember, Chimdia Wiwu, the right tackle, was shaken up on that final play of the first quarter. So they put Allegri at right guard, and they have put Seth Martin at right tackle. 3rd and 15. Underneath, and Wembley is dragged down. It's Will Schaefer, former Arizona State Sun Devil. He has been a difference maker since he stepped foot on campus at ACU last year.
Yeah, and this is one of the better linebackers in the nation. A Buck Buchanan Award finalist a year ago, at least on the list a year ago. And you don't make 100+ tackles in a season for nothing. And that play right there shows you that how talented this young man can be.
Well, it really feels like a stop that Abilene Christian desperately needed.
Yeah, they absolutely needed that just from the psychological standpoint, just to take a breath and give your offense a chance.
Punt by Pozzebon, hangs up at the 5. Kind of like your 9-iron, right, LD?
Sometimes.
At the 5. Long field ahead for Abilene Christian here in the 2nd round of the FCS playoffs. Now the FCS National Championship moving from Frisco, Texas to Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. We're less than a month away now from Championship Monday, January 5th, 2026. Of course, the quarterfinals are next week, followed by the semifinals, then 2 weeks until the championship game. Stephen F. Austin, Abilene Christian, the 7 seed and the 10 seed meeting here in Nacogdoches, Texas, with the winner to play either Montana State or Yale. Montana State hosting that one in Bozeman, the 2 seed up 7-0 over Yale from the Ivy League. Great to see Harvard and Yale, the Ivy League, allowing their teams in the FCS playoffs for the first time this year.
I thought that game by Yale was simply incredible. For them to come back in that game was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, last week, right? First round.
Yeah.
Stone Earl from his own end zone. Incomplete, but a flag is down. Dudley trying to make the catch against Charles Demings, the future NFL draft pick, and the flag is thrown.
Tell you what, Demings has got that sticky coverage they talk about, Ted, and I actually thought the coverage was pretty good on this one. It's always contingent.
Number 1, defense, a 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Those good defensive backs, that backside hand, it's always the one that the back judge can see that we don't typically get to see. We might get a little look at the replay here. Yeah, see that offhand, that left hand? It was just enough on the left arm of the receiver, Dallas Dudley, and that back judge and the back official saw that and threw the flag.
Boy, the umpire got an elbow too. You saw in front of Demings.
That's strays out there.
Earl again to the air, and this time he's on target. It's Javon Gibson, ACU's top receiver, past the 45-yard line. So they start from the 5, and now they're at the 45 with a penalty and a big pass.
That's it. This is a really nice job by this offensive line. They've got to get back to the basics and protect their quarterback, because Earl, once he has time, he's got the ability to find these receivers downfield. And I thought Javon Gibson runs a really nice route. He runs that nice deep end cut, and with his big body in his frame, it's a nice target for any quarterback.
25 yards for Gibson, 50-year senior. Earl again deep, again for Gibson, who couldn't catch up to it. Jalen Mayo was stuck on the turf for Stephen F. Austin.
Boy, that is a very savvy play by Jalen Mayo, because he knew he was beat. And this is an even better route by Javon Gibson, because he does a sluggo, is what we call slant, and then go. And that's a crafty move that didn't get called, but it was enough to hold up Gibson. That big play couldn't happen. It's a great job.
You think a flag should have been thrown?
I thought he made some contact that caused Gibson to throw off his route there.
Now it's 2nd and 10. Earl up top, and a big hit, but the catch pulled in for Abilene Christian. It's Hut Graham, junior, who figured a little more prominently in the offense last year, but he moves the chains.
Yeah, nice play design here. Look at the run option there. That might have been an RPO that the quarterback just saw something that, hey, they're uncovered on the outside, and he flips it out to his receiver in the open. And that's a nice job by Graham Harrell again to get his offense in positions that can take advantage of some of the stuff that this defense has given up a little bit.
I mean, remember, LD, ACU went 3 and out their last 4 possessions. Here they are past midfield, and Earl has room to run inside the 30 of Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, now you're seeing the misdirection in the offense really utilize the aggressiveness of the Lumberjacks defense against themselves. And an inverted option, when you've got a quarterback that can run like Stone Earl, now you've got a chance to outflank and get to the edge of the defense. Perfectly called, perfectly timed call there. And now it sets them up with 2nd, and really, I think you can really attack here on 2nd and 1.
Earl again to the air. Pocket crumbles. And the throw is caught by Gibson. He got a foot down. Wow. Inside the 20. Lanky target at 6'4". And he beat Jalen Mayo to put Abilene Christian in the red zone.
And when you have a receiver that's 6'4", Ted, all you got to do is throw it in a window that nobody else can get to. That's fantastic. That's great camera work, guys, to get the foot. That's all you needed, and the body control. Fantastic play there.
Coaches say that Javon Gibson here in the last month has adopted the mindset that he is the best player on the field. Earl looking his way again, and it's broken up. Mayo got a piece of it.
Well, I love the fact that the Wildcats are challenging these 2 bookend corners. These cornerbacks, in my opinion, are very elite. We talked about Demings, right? But Jalen Mayo is no slouch. This kid is getting Sunday looks as well, and he's going to be a big-time player, can be a big-time player at the next level, but they are challenging these 2 defensive backs, and I think that is the best thing they can do, because that's going to open up everything more likely in the middle of this defense as well.
On 2nd and 10, the draw for Earl, and he's pulled down from behind. Kai Thomas, the 6th-year senior from Elkhart, just 60 miles west of here. It's 3rd down.
Well, Mike Moots told us that this young man's IQ is outstanding in Kai Thomas, and here it is. He could have easily been going on the outside, but they run a stunt between the defensive tackle and the defensive end, and he goes right there to the quarterback, and you need that type of play on this defensive line.
3rd and 9. ACU 0 for their last 5 on 3rd down to the end zone. It's incomplete. There is a flag down near the line of scrimmage, and there's a flag now in the end zone. J.J. Henry was the intended target.
Yeah, this is going to be the double whammy against the Lumberjacks. They're going to get encroachment on defense in a neutral zone, and then you're going to get pass interference by Michael Patterson.
There were 2 fouls in the play, both by the defense. Offside, number 33. That penalty is declined. Pass interference, number 19. The foul took place in the end zone. The ball was placed at the 2-yard line, automatic. 1st down.
Yes, AC will take that penalty.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and they've got it at the 2.
And I don't think if Michael Patterson didn't pass interference, that's a touchdown. Because the receiver had inside precision. It's J.J. Henry. Nice route there.
1st and goal at the 2. Vaughn, the sledgehammer. Patient running, and he's in the end zone for the touchdown. A big answer from Abilene Christian.
And this team is battle tested. And I'm telling you, they will not go quietly. And it's all about the pillars at ACU, the character, the discipline, and more importantly, the toughness. And they showed you toughness on this drive. And then they show you some toughness pushing this thing in the end zone there by Banks. Or excuse me, by Vaughn.
Breaking arm tackles on his way in. And Brandon Perez makes it a 4-point game. Abilene Christian showed no life offensively. Those 4 drives in a row, they went 3 and out LD. Remember, they started with the field goal, but they're a 95-yard touchdown drive to cut it to a 1-score deficit.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy, and sometimes you just need a little spark. And I thought when they were backed up on their own end, they got a couple of conversions, and then the big play across the middle to Gibson. That kind of set the offense back on track, and then they got the misdirection going, Ted. They got the quarterback run game involved, and then they hit a couple of plays downfield, and next thing you know, they're knocking on the door with Jordan Vaughn in the end zone. That's a big-time response from a battle-tested team.
Well, we mentioned that the championship game is in Nashville. We mentioned the date, January 5th, 2026. Keith Patterson, Abilene Christian's head coach, has brought up that date non-stop this season. He has pictures of Vanderbilt Stadium all around the facility to motivate his team. Richard Reese on the return for Stephen F. Austin, and he loops around past the 25. A couple of flags are down.
Well, you know you're an elite kickoff returner when you return this thing in today's game, 2 yards in your own end zone. Most players now are fair catching this thing and letting it bounce. Not Mr. Reese.
Considered the fastest player on the team by the coaches. Another dangerous return man.
Return, holding, number 18, return team. Half the distance from the spot of the foul. 1st down.
So the penalty against Stephen F. Austin. Well, Sam Vidlac, again, rough start, missed his last 4 passes, but man, has he turned it up.
Man, this kid here is a warrior, and it just takes time. And right there, I thought that pass, he saw one go in. Right now, we're going in attack mode. I'm seeing the field, and I feel comfortable. And when you give him time, he can be surgical with the football. We talked to Coach Ross, one of the strongest arm quarterbacks he's ever coached. And that's saying a lot because Coach Ross has been around some good ones.
Really found a home here in the Piney Woods after stints at Oregon State, Boise State, and Montana. And on first down, he's slinging it. Caught by Kylan Harris. And a first down across the 25-yard line. He could have cashed in, LD, like so many do, and you can't fault players for doing that. But Vidlac says, I've found everything I want to find here at Stephen F. Austin. A culture, a community, and a coaching staff that believes in me. Wembley is stopped at the line of scrimmage by Schaefer.
Yeah, that's all about Coach Carthon, right? And to your point, the rest of this coaching staff, and I think this community, this is what by far, even today, driving around Nacogdoches, everybody's waving and friendly and good times. And yeah, I agree. And that helps to an athlete because now you feel like you've got a home and it makes you play that extra little bit more. And sometimes that can make the difference.
Vidlac, one of 20 players for Stephen F. Austin who have graduated and decided to stay. Vidlac up top, incomplete for Wayland. Noah Mangum with the coverage for Abilene Christian, no flag. There is a flag in the backfield, however.
That's going to be interesting there. That more times than not is roughing the passer.
Holding, number 71, offense. That penalty is declined. Third down.
That's on Robert Keller, the left tackle, but Abilene Christian declines it. They take the result of the play to bring up 3rd and 12.
Defense now starting to play with a little edge, and credit to Nick Holt, to the defensive coordinator. He's been around some programs. He's seen a lot of football to settle his guys in, and now they're again playing downhill, keeping things in front.
Tunnel screen for Kylan Harris. And he bulls past the 30. He needed the 36-yard line. Kagan Roach, Noah Mangum making the hit. And it's 4th down for the Jacks.
I like that play call there because he had a chance to bust it. But good defense there to keep him out. I thought maybe if he got maybe a yard or two closer, Ted, Coach Carthon may think about going for it on his own end, but absolutely the right thing to do here. Punt this thing away. You've got arguably one of the best defenses in the nation. Let them have a chance to regroup.
Hosbon's kick hits the leg of Tyson Williams, and it looks like it's recovered by Stephen F. Austin. Now there is a flag down as well there at the 30-yard line. Was there kick-catch interference? That's the question.
Oh, boy.
Remember, you have to give the return man the opportunity.
Kick catch interference. 38, kick 18. 15-yard penalty, spot the foul. First down.
So forget about recovering that punt. Abilene Christian has it here late in the half with great field position.
He clearly signals the fair catch, and yeah, there it is. And I've seen that go either way, right? You know, the player didn't make contact. He tried his best to get out of the way.
But you have to give him that room that is defined directly in front of the shoulders.
Yeah.
And the Jack there on special teams is right in front of him. Even though he tries to slide out of the way, you can see why the flag was thrown.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't bumped. So a first down at the 45 for Abilene Christian. And the toss to Jordan Vaughn, cutting it back to midfield. Gain of 5. Abilene Christian opened this game with a drive that lasted about half of the first quarter. It ended with 3 points. Then LD, 4 consecutive 3-and-outs before the 95-yard touchdown drive last time out.
Yeah, they really struggled from that second possession of the game into the last touchdown, and a credit to the Lumberjacks defense, but credit the offensive coordinator Graham Harrell again to readjust some things and try to find something offensively that they can have success with.
A timeout for Stephen F. Austin with 3:11 to play in the half. Well, we've seen Kai Thomas wreak havoc a little bit here today, like he has all season long for Stephen F. Austin up front. First team all Southland Conference defensive end. So he said from Elkhart, about 60 miles to the west, he is Cowboy Kai through and through. This was him at Southland Conference Media Day before the season. He grew up as a rodeo champion. 2018, a finalist in steer wrestling at Elkhart High School. You did steer wrestling at Louisville High School, right? In the 90s, no?
Hey, that's a nice look right there, too. I like the cowboy hat. You got the coat on, and
it's sharp.
That's a pretty good look, man. And he's tough as nails. This guy is tough, and the rest of the guys feed off of that. Fun to watch it.
Vaughn around the end for a yard or two to bring up third down. Kai Thomas thought that was going to be his sport in college, not football. He thought he would compete in rodeo, and yes, that is absolutely a sport for some schools that offer it. But man, what a difference he's made on the football field.
Well, it frees up a lot of what they like to do defensively. They don't necessarily have to bring a blitz because you've got Kai Thomas, you've got Aaron Austin on the other side. Well, these are primo pass rushers, and it frees up what they can do behind him in defensively.
Thomas not on the field right now. 3rd and 3. Earl completes it to Gibson inside the 30 of Stephen F. Austin, working against Cameron Reddick. A first down for the Wildcats.
And Ted, this is outstanding anticipation by Earl because he throws his receiver open. Gibson's not even looking for this pass, but the ball, as soon as Gibson whips his head around, almost beats him up, and he has to defend himself with the ball hitting him in the chest. But that's a big play, throwing it in the hole, and now this offense starting to find ways of moving the ball.
And we hit the 2-minute timeout here in the second round of the FCS playoffs. Abilene Christian was down 14-3. They're trying to take the lead before.
The college football playoff selection show, the bracket will be filled. Judgment Day is here.
Who will be in the 12-team playoff in the FBS? Of course, we have 24 teams in the FCS playoffs, down to 16 with the second round this weekend. And out of the 2-minute timeout, Stephen F. Austin up 14-10 over Abilene Christian, which is driving. And coming up here at the half, it has been a season of change and adversity for FCS power South Dakota State. How the Jacks have dealt with tragedy this season, plus highlights and stats from the first half here at Homer Bryce Stadium. Ted Emmerich, LaDarren McClain, our entire crew. The winner of this one heads to the FCS quarterfinals to play either Montana State or Yale. Bobcats up 7-0 at the half in that game in Bozeman. Earl into the flat for Eddie Henry, his tight end. And Henry spinning to the 20-yard line against Charles Demings. So ACU LD is threatening here after that cold spell in the middle of this first half.
And this play here is a little bit of what we saw in that first drive. They had misdirection going one way and the receivers going inside, and then they slip Henry into the flat to where nobody's home, and that simplifies the game, but it also is attacking the defense where they're weakest when you've got motion and action going the other way.
Second down and a yard. Vaughn hit behind the line, and he is pulled down by Xavier Potts, the senior defensive tackle from Missouri City in the greater Houston area. Loss of a couple.
Yeah, this is just a great job of fighting through the bodies of the offensive line at ACU and then locating the ball carrier. That's a big stop because now you've got a 3rd and 4. Probably could have been a lot less than that, but this is a big down here for this defense again.
ACU is within field goal range here. 3rd and 4.
So pressure look by this defense, single high safety.
And they run it with Vaughn, who finds an alley all the way to the end zone for his second touchdown. Abilene Christian seizes the lead.
Well, that's the one thing. If this defense wants to bring everybody on the line of scrimmage, you better get home and you better make the tackle because there's nobody else in the backfield except one safety, and it's one-on-one with the running back. It's so well blocked up front, Ted. The left side of the offensive line, even their center, Coulter Lynch, he does a fantastic job. And then obviously Vaughn with his big body, 6'3", 235 pounds, he's got the ability to take it home.
And Brandon Perez adds the extra point.
Look at this here. You got hat on hat. There it is. There's the crease. And now you're hoping your safety, Reddick, can get over there and make the play. He just can't get there quick enough. That's a great play design, and it's the perfect call. It gets a pressure look at the defense. If they can't get there, you better be able to make the tackle once the running back creases the line of scrimmage. Here it is. Blocking downfield. You've got the receivers. Everybody on the same page there.
Vaughn had 2 touchdowns in the win over Stephen F. Austin in week 2. He's got 2 in the first half here today. Because remember the penalty, the kick-catch interference on the punt that put ACU at the 45 short field, and they capitalize. Now, Vaughn was hampered by a shoulder injury in the middle of the season, but the last couple of weeks, the coaches say he's starting to run through people's faces again. That's the running back that we saw all through camp. He's back.
He's back, and he's big, and he's fast, and he's athletic. I thought he was a workhorse last week, 15 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown against Lamar. And if you can get that version of Vaughn, and then the complement of running backs that they do have, like Banks, you know, again, this offense can only go up. And right now, they've taken this lead back.
So 1:05 remaining in the half. 2 timeouts for the Lumberjacks. And remember, SFA will have the ball to start the second half.
Yeah, this offense is already built in a hurry-up type mode, so they don't need to change anything offensively. With 2 timeouts remaining, they've got plenty of time here.
They run it with Wembley. And he's hit right near the line. Will Schaefer has been everywhere in this first half for Abilene Christian.
Yeah, again, you're talking about arguably one of the best defensive players in the country. And O'Shawn Miles Jr., number 14, he's getting all the love this year as the Buck Buchanan Award list player. And
on 2nd and 9, Vidlac in stride. Wayland with a first down to midfield. Dyson Williams, Dorian Plumley were back there for Abilene Christian. SFA has it at the 49.
Yeah, even with his size, he has ability to create space. That's a great read there by Vidlac and a good throw.
Clock stopped momentarily with the first down. And underneath to Wembley. And a big stick by Fonua and Rashawn Miles Jr. Gain of 3. 24 seconds left in the half, and it looks like SFA has called one of those timeouts.
Yeah, pretty good defense there. Vidlac going to the check down. And even with 24 seconds, that's a good job by Coach Carthel to call the timeout. You got plenty of time here. You probably need 10, 15 yards to be in a manageable field goal situation where you got a legitimate shot. Now, the wind is a little bit up and down. And I'm looking at the goalpost right now. There's no wind. But you've got to be methodical here. You've got to be efficient. And even when you get first downs, it'll stop the clock. But you got to be able to get up and be ready to clock it if you need it.
And LD, remember what Colby Carthel told us. It's one thing if it's their normal place kicker, Carlos Alvarado. But if it's a long field goal, watch out for Jacob Hand. You see right there off screen now, number 40, the kickoff specialist. They feel like his range is from right about here. It would be around a 64-yard field goal, but Alvarado is warming up as well. And they would need to move it closer for him. Vidlac is taken down. That certainly doesn't help. Kagan Roach with the sack. Now 7.5 on the season, and Stephen F. Austin burns its final timeout with 18 seconds to go.
This defense is so good on their one-on-one matchups on the offensive line, and you can see Roach there. He just fights through the pressure, or the protection, I should say, and he finds himself with the quarterback in there. And yes, that's the one position you cannot take a sack in that situation there. I think this ultimately will force the hand offensively for SFA here.
Now there's a look at Jacob Hand, the sophomore. They say that the target line for him would be the 47. That's about where Stephen F. Austin was before the sack by Roach. And it was just a few weeks ago against Lamar that Hand drilled a 56-yarder, the second longest in the history of Lumberjacks football that goes back 100 years. But the coaches say he has hit 64, 65-yarders in practice. I mean, what is he, Brandon Aubrey?
Anybody think he is around here?
So 3rd and 12. Again, no timeouts now for Stephen F. Austin. Just a 3-man rush. Vidlac all day to the sideline. Whalen comes open. Well done by Stephen F. Austin. Vidlac hanging in there. And this is a much better position with 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a great job by Vidlac to scan the field, but even more, this offensive line doing a great job protecting, allowing that play to develop here.
Try to attack the boundary again. ACU brings more pressure this time, and the quick throw to Kylan Harris, stepping out at the 30. Clock stopped at 7 seconds. And now the field goal unit with Jacob Hand comes onto the field. From here, it appears it'll be a 48-yard attempt. That's a little bit outside the range of their usual place kicker, Carlos Alvarado. Hand the bigger leg. This is well within his range. And Hand is on the money. He ties the score with 3 seconds to play in the first half.
Hey, that's a fantastic job by the Lumberjacks offense to regroup even after the sack. And they were very methodical and efficient. The players knowing the situational football, getting out of bounds, making a play. And then when you can set Hand up with this, a right-footed kicker on the right hash, if they wanted to push to the right, but then it kind of curved and drew back into the inside of the upright.
So Stephen F. Austin evens it up at 17 right before the half.
I mean, how fitting is this? These two teams, depending on what happens here with 3 seconds to go, playing to a draw here at halftime. It's the perfect scenario between these two teams and this rivalry. And it's been a good game, too. These two teams, I thought, have gotten the better of each other at moments in this first half. The offense has taken over. The defense is coming and making plays. Even special teams, Ted, coming up and making a play. Been fun to watch.
It's the 13th meeting between these two in the last decade. 8 of those games decided by 1 score. No surprise, we're still tied here. One of the upbacks takes it for Abilene Christian. Cut down to close out the half. Nathan Jones there for Abilene Christian. So SFA ties it up right before halftime, and the Lumberjacks will have the ball to start the second half. But through one half, all square at 17 with a spot in the FCS quarterfinals at stake. Again, from 3 months ago to the day, the game at Anthony Field in Abilene, won by ACU, to today in the second round here in Nacogdoches. The rivalry continues, and Alex Perella, our referee, holding things up here. Band's ready to come out onto the field. SFA is almost all the way to their locker room.
Yeah.
Abilene Christian, though, still on their sideline. Okay.
Okay.
After all, it is the end of the first. That's what we thought.
That's what we thought.
Tied at 17 at the half. The winner to play either Montana State or Yale in the quarterfinals next week. And if Montana State wins, of course, as the number 2 seed, they would host in Bozeman next week. Well, we welcome in from the field Colby Carthel, Stephen F. Austin's head coach. Colby, Ted Emmerich, LaDarren McClain upstairs. Your biggest takeaway from this first half would be what?
we've got to play cleaner. You know, I think our effort's good, but didn't play real clean starting out offensively. Defensively, you know, penalties are killing us. We've got, you know, 2 PIs and a kick-catch interference. I don't know that I agreed with that one, but, you know, just giving them extending plays, extending drives on stuff like that is a self-inflicted wound we got to get cleaned up.
Coach Carthel, LD here. Hey, what do you think about, you know, how your team is settled in after being off a week? It looks like it took them just a little bit. It looks like they've settled in pretty nicely here in this first half in all phases, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we were ready to play. I mean, obviously, you go 3 and out your first series. Well, let's point to something, but we just didn't execute. These guys are ready to play. They're chomping, foaming at the bit, and excited to be out there. We're playing a really good team, and Abilene Christian has a lot to do with when we don't score, we don't move the ball. I mean, it's the second round of the playoffs. We're playing December 6th, so 2 really good teams playing at each other.
Yeah, what else would you expect, Colby? Thanks for the time. All the best.
You bet. Axum Jackson.
Now, Colby Carthel, see on his shirt, East Texas tough. That is the mantra for SFA. You better be East Texas tough if you're going to win the Southland and have a chance to host a playoff game like today. Tied at 17. Coming up, we send you to Matt Schitt in the studio. Here in the second round of the FCS playoffs and the second meeting this season between Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian and LD. Much like in week 2, SFA built a 2-score lead early.
Well, they got things going, and I think Vidlac settled into the game, and then he started to move the ball around, and that time with the bowler in the back of the end zone for the second score of the game.
But Abilene Christian punching back like they did in that victory back 3 months ago. Jordan Vaughn, a couple of touchdown runs to put the Wildcats in front, 17-14, before Jacob Hand, the biggest of the big legs available to Stephen F. Austin, drilled a 48-yard field goal to tie things up as we head toward the second half. A trip to the FCS quarterfinals at stake here in the piney woods of East Texas, Nacogdoches at Homer Bryce Stadium. Stephen F. Austin, Abilene Christian tied at 17 as we start the second half. Ted Emmerich, LaDarren McClain, our entire crew. SFA was up 14-3 early in the second quarter. Abilene Christian scored a couple of touchdowns to take the lead. SFA tied it up with a field goal late in the first half. So Stephen F. Austin will have the ball at the 25 to start the third quarter. We check out the stats, LD. Abilene Christian, check out the time of possession. It's like they've had the ball the entire first half.
And a lot of that was on that opening possession of the game. And really, when you look at ACU, they're averaging 5.5 yards per play, and SFA is at about 7.3. And really, it comes down to these two teams in the second half to convert third downs. I didn't think either one was very good in third downs, and it might dictate and may predict the outcome of this game.
Here's a toss to Richard Reese. They want to get him on the edge. This is how you do it. Now the cutback. He is a speed merchant. Reese across the 20 and ushered out by Noah Mangum at the 15. Enormous play to start the second half for the Lumberjacks.
Well, it's a play that they didn't really show at all in that first half. It's basically an inverted option, and it's just down the line, and you pitch it to the outside, and Reese, again, showing you that electric speed, gets to the edge, and he can make a defense pay if you're out of position.
60 yards for Reese, but now a flag, and it'll be 1st and 15 for SFA.
Ball start, offense, number 86. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, that's the tight end, Gerard Ademo, who caught his first career touchdown in the first half. Yet Reese, LD, former Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year at Baylor 3 years ago. He was a freshman All-American that season. Vidlac off the play fake to the boundary, and the catch made by Clayton Whalen, the sophomore from Southlake in the DFW area. Schaefer was lurking, and a short gain on the play.
Yeah, that's a nice play design, and you can see the rushing yards against Abilene Christian. This defense has been pretty stout, so But again, that's a nice play design that you get one of your receivers matched up against a linebacker.
60 yards on one play there. Vidlak to the edge. And Kylan Harris pushed out of bounds right near the first down marker. It'll be 1st and goal for Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, here it is again. I love the fact that they're moving the pocket, giving Vidlak a chance with an open look. And there it is, the receiver right in front of him, and he gets rid of it. And Harris certainly makes the play there. And here it is, 1st and goal. This offense knocking on the door.
And LD, here is what SFA calls their GATA package with Gavin Rutherford, the backup quarterback. He's not behind center. Wembley, the running back, takes the direct snap, and he beats ECU to the corner for the touchdown. All the shifting, then the running by Wembley. Stephen F. Austin takes the lead.
Yeah, that GATA package, it creates personnel problems for the defense because they really don't know if they need to sub. But the GATA package, you bring in 7 offensive linemen, you still have a tight end. We know the running back's there. You've got a wide receiver, but the quarterback and the running back are interchangeable in the backfield. And that time there, they just run read option with the quarterback Wembley, and Wembley keeps
GATA stands for something. Get after their, you know the rest. That's what Stephen F. Austin just did, close to the goal line. After Richard Reese ripped off a 60-yard run to open this second half. And Jarrell Wembley capped it off out of that GATA package. SFA is getting after it here in the second round. They're on top at home. Back here in Nacogdoches, you are watching second round coverage of the FCS Championship on ESPN. Either Stephen F. Austin or Abilene Christian will reach the quarterfinal round after today. What a start to the second half, LD, for Stephen F. Austin, taking less than 2 minutes to take the lead.
Yeah, and it's so funny because they didn't start the game that way, and yet coming out of that halftime locker room, they make one little tweak to what they're trying to do in the game plan, which is get the ball to Reese on the edge, and just like that, they're down the field, and then one play later, they're knocking on the door, or a couple of plays later, they're knocking in the end zone there.
Jacob Hand, who hit that field goal at the end of the half, sends it into the end zone, so Abilene Christian starts from the 25. Again, the winner of this one heads to the quarters to play either the 2-seed Montana State or Yale. That game also right now on ESPN Plus, and that'll be either Friday or Saturday next week. And if Montana State wins as the higher seed, the number 2 seed overall, in fact, that game would be in Bozeman.
I just think this is the best time of the year. And you get playoffs, you've got all these great teams across the country trying to get to that national championship. It's settled on the field.
Pocket breaking down for Earl, and he twists ahead for almost 5 yards. Victor Edasuyi, the fifth-year senior from Dickinson, made the tackle.
And see, in my opinion, this is what makes Earl so great as a quarterback, because he easily could have gone down or maybe just chunked it in the dirt, but he fights tooth and nail just to get some yards. And that play there keeps him on schedule. It keeps him ahead of the chains. And now as a play caller, when you look at what Graham Harrell wants to do, he's got the playbook open to what he wants.
2nd and 6, Earl again on the move, throwing it low, incomplete, intended for Gibson. Jalen Mayo with the coverage. So 3rd down, and listen, Colby Carthel, SFA's head coach, told us this week, I see Stone Earl as the Johnny Football of the FCS. He is so dangerous outside the pocket.
He did. I mean, you rarely hear that about an opposing coach talk about the other team's quarterback, but Carthel was very adamant about that this guy, and you know, he's recruited him enough that this guy is that type of player that makes everything on one team go. Got to keep him under control for sure.
Wildcats need 6 on 3rd down, and they pick it up with ball trip. A first down across the 35. Malachi Williams tripped him up.
Yeah, and that kind of play there was designed if they were bringing pressure. These are man routes, but the defense bails out and they play zone, and that's why you have that receiver wide open underneath. And that's a great read there by Earl, and the offensive line one more time, Ted, doing a great job in protection.
Ball trip from Silsby, about 100 miles outside of Nacogdoches, in motion, and here is Vaughn. Jordan Vaughn to the perimeter for 9 yards.
That play right there is the 21st century version of a toss sweep. It's basically getting your big, fast running back outflanked on the offensive line and the defense. You just throw him a screen pass, and then he's got an alley with these receivers blocking downfield. And now these defensive backs got to make a business decision to come up and tackle a big body right there in Jordan Vaughn.
Listed at 235, and that might not be enough.
I know.
On the roster.
He's built like a man, I'm telling you.
Second and short. Rovon Banks spelling Vaughn, and Banks a shoestring tackle away from a touchdown. Michael Patterson III clips him down at the 42.
And that's the inside zone. This is what this offense, bread and butter. Right there, you see the push, and these running backs are taught to ride that seam until you get a little bit of crack, and then you get upfield.
Earl on first down. Again on the move. Trying to fit it in, and it's incomplete. Intended for Balltrip. Jaden Southard, finalist for the Buck Buchanan Award, which goes to the FCS Defensive Player of the Year, was in coverage.
He's such a hard-nosed football player and ideal in what you want as far as being a linebacker that can play in the inside. You can probably move him to the outside as well, and he showed you his ability there in coverage.
And LD Southard was originally committed to Abilene Christian coming out of high school. That was before Keith Patterson became the head coach. Once that happened, Southard decided SFA was a better fit. On second down, Earl scrambling, and Stone Earl to the sticks, a first down to the 30-yard line. He is so difficult to handle once he breaks contain.
You know, those off-script plays, I think the best quarterbacks in the nation, they turn these into opportunities. And if you don't make that play, and you can see the defense there, Reddick on a safety blitz, you don't get home. This turns into a big play the other way. And you can quantify that as an explosive, in my opinion, because you've got a quarterback that is taking advantage of a defensive breakdown.
First down at the Stephen F. Austin 30. Banks finding a hole, and he picks up 9 to the 21. Rovon Banks, a good compliment for Jordan Vaughn. The coaches say he has the most natural feel of all their running backs, just the instincts and his ability to find a seam.
And he runs that inside zone as good as anybody that I've seen. And it's all about patience, and I talked about riding the wave. You'll hear coaches talk about that in the zone blocking schemes. Ride the wave as long as you can, press it, and then put that foot in the dirt. And Banks is probably as good as you'll see is doing that in the inside and even the outside running zones.
Very different back from Vaughn at 5'8", 200 compared to 6'3", 235. Banks remains in there, and he is hauled down by Malachi Williams right near the line of scrimmage, so about a half-yard away from the first down. Third down on the way.
I mean, that's a heck of a football play there by Malachi Williams. You've got all kinds of bodies. You've got Josiah Fogelpult coming across. You've got the tight end, Henry, and it's power football, but somehow, some way, Williams fights through all of that and makes the tackle at the line of scrimmage.
Now an empty set for Earl, and ACU does need the full yard. Earl keeping the whole way, and he's got the first down inside the 20. Eddie Henry, the tight end, came in motion to deliver a block.
I've always been a fan of those offenses that like to utilize the feet of the quarterback because now you have instant numbers. And you mentioned an empty set. Well, they motioned the tight end back, And now you've got the box or inside the box numbers with Henry, and it's power running even with your quarterback.
And a good-looking drive that ACU is cobbling together after Stephen F. Austin scored to start the second half.
Yeah, dominating that TOP once again, even on this drive now.
5 minutes now. Flag is down at the line of scrimmage, and Earl throws it into the back of Jordan Vaughn. Incomplete. Vaughn was probably ready to block for his quarterback.
He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? I'm not here blocking for you.
It looks like an illegal shift against Abilene Christian.
Illegal shift, number 87, offense. That penalty's declined. The second down.
Call it on Henry, the tight end.
And these motions, these tight ends, and even the receivers, they got to stay still for at least a count. After they motion into position, he just never really got set there.
So with Stephen F. Austin declining the penalty, 2nd and 10. And Banks slipped, trying to cut it back. He picks up about a yard, and it looked like it could have gone for a lot more.
Oh, man. I think he saw what I saw and what you probably seen. Watch this backside cut. There's nobody there, right there. And if he could have kept his balance, he might hit his head on that pylon in the top of the end zone up here, and he knows it too. Might have hurt himself too at the same time.
So Banks comes out, Jordan Vaughn right back in, and it's 3rd and 9 for Abilene Christian.
Well, here's the look we saw earlier in that first half where Vaughn scored on the touchdown.
Earl stepping up, Vaughn delivers a block, Stone Earl cracked at the goal line, and it's a touchdown! And a Stephen F. Austin defender, Michael Patterson III, remains down after that collision. Lost his helmet. It was ruled a touchdown by the official on the near side, but Patterson remains down.
That was violent. That was violent there. That's...
We will step aside. Concern for Michael Patterson III, trying to prevent the touchdown by Stone Earl. Michael Patterson's teammates all on one knee, with medical staff on the field attending to Patterson, who was trying to keep Stone Earl, Abilene Christian's quarterback, out of the end zone, in just a violent collision at the goal line. It is a touchdown by Earl to make it 24-23, but LD, the stretcher on the field, and a lot of concern here in Nacogdoches.
Yeah, this kind of makes football an afterthought for sure, because you're talking about a human being, and man, it just iterates how violent this game is and how lucky every single time you can walk off this field. And you know, it's never a situation that you can be prepared for. And as a football player, when you see your teammate like that, you got to get yourself mentally prepared. And that's the risk we take as football players, right? You go into every game going in there knowing the risk.
So we'll take one look here with Earl taking off, and you'll see that Patterson was really the last line of defense, and Patterson lost his helmet in the process. And you saw immediately, his teammates just knew. Chance Sauter, the safety, said, come on out, you know, motioning to the trainers, get out here right now.
And you can see on the other sideline, right? These guys, you know, it's a fraternity. You play football, you know that. You want to beat each other, you know, certainly, but at the same time, you want everybody to walk out of here upright. And
you know, the screen's up from SFA personnel to provide a little privacy in this moment. The trainers continue to work with Michael Patterson III, and we'll step aside. Stephen F. Austin defensive back Michael Patterson III was loaded onto the stretcher during this last timeout. And LD, so good to see this. The thumbs up to the crowd that just erupted when they saw that.
Absolutely. That is it's better than any touchdown that's going to be scored in this game today in this type of moment. And rightfully so, everybody cheering that they got to see that.
It was a touchdown by Stone Earl. Now Brandon Perez looking to tie the score yet again. And he does just that. So another outstanding drive that consumed a lot of clock by ACU, and they knot things up at 24.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent game plan, and anytime you can shorten the game, keep the ball away from the opposing team's offense, but you still add points, that's the recipe of a team in the playoffs for one, but it also travels, and it's the way this team is built. They can run the football, and they did it on that drive, and they made some timely throws. And here we are knotted up again. Both these teams throwing their best punches at one another here this afternoon.
On the Stephen F. Austin side, LD, how do you just as a person move forward in this moment after seeing one of your brothers be taken off the field like that?
No, you know, it's one of the things that football players are just wired differently. And yes, to some people, it's how do you respond? But these guys are going to probably play a little bit more spirited now that one of their brothers has fallen, but they got the thumbs up. They should be juiced.
Bryce on the return, and he's chopped down at the 25-yard line. SFA struck so quickly on its opening drive of this third quarter. Yeah, the big play by Reese, 60 yards to open the half. Wembley punched it in. Both offenses with touchdowns to start the second half.
Yeah, and this is what we've come to expect from either one of these teams. They're going to fight tooth and nail. I talked about at the beginning of the broadcast about how balanced and how evenly matched these two teams are, even though they do certain things a little bit different.
Vidlak pressured, retreating, and he does get rid of it, but Zion Fonua bearing down on him. Man, that was trouble for Vidlak back at the 5.
Well, I think they're going to talk about this. This may be intentional grounding. There was no intentional receiver. Yeah, there's the flag. It's going to be a loss of down.
Intentional grounding. Number 15, offense. Lost it down at the spot of the foul. Second down.
Just kept giving ground, LD, and again, within that pocket, and nobody around Vidlak just trying to get rid of it.
Well, this is where that little Spider-Man sense of quarterback has got to go off. You got to get rid of it. That's not Vidlak's game. He cannot extend the plays when the protection is like this, right? Now you've got a jailbreak. Got to make that decision a split second earlier because field position and ball where you are is going to be paramount the rest of this game.
Ends up as a 17-yard loss. So 2nd and 27. And Jalen Jenkins powers back to the 12. So about 4 yards there to bring up 3rd and 23.
And how about defensive coordinator Nick Holt to show him a little bit something different on that last play with the sack or the intentional grounding. You know, they bring the pressure from a different angle, and sometimes that's all you need. And here we are now. It's 3rd down and a mile for the Lumberjacks offense.
Just a 3-man rush. Vidlak throws it short. And a quick tackle on Derek Bowler. He didn't even reach the 20-yard line. Beg your pardon. Clayton Whalen came up with the catch. And Christian Oku, the true freshman from Midwest City, Oklahoma, made the tackle. So ACU with the quick stop on defense.
And that's a great series by the Wildcats defense. One, pushing the offense out of position. And then on 3rd and long, they're going to allow you to complete a pass underneath because they're going to come up and make the tackle. And here's a great opportunity for the Wildcats again to get great field position.
Pozzebon gets it away. Good punt. Tyson Williams on the return. And Williams stacked up at the 38. Well, the FCS playoffs continue with quarterfinal action next Friday and Saturday on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN+. For more information, visit NCAA.com, the home for all NCAA championships. Yes, the winner of this one reaches the quarterfinals. For Abilene Christian to be the first time in their 13-year history in the FCS, the Division I level. For Stephen F. Austin, trying to reach the quarterfinals for the first time since 2009. They'll play either Montana State or Yale. Right now, Montana State up 21-6 at home against Yale in the second round.
I wouldn't be surprised here. You see a ton of Vaughn and Banks here running the football, controlling the game here.
Earl taking a shot on first down, and an over-the-shoulder catch for Dallas Dudley. Stepping over Charles Demings, the future NFL draft pick, for 32 yards.
You get the matchup you wanted, and Dudley does a nice job of getting on top of Demings. That's so rare against a quarterback with that elite level talent. And there is the step over at the end, and it's a perfect pass again by Earl, throwing it only where his guy can make that play.
Treated Demings like Iverson did Tyronn Lue in the finals 20-some-odd years ago. Earl, again a deep throw, this time to the end zone, and off the hands of Radrian Balltrip. Incomplete. Chance Sauter was back there defensively.
Well, I just love the mindset of Coach Patterson and his offensive staff. They're like, hey, we are going to attack. This is a tie ball game. We're going to try and attack your safeties. We've been attacking your corners, and that's a fingertip away from being 6 points. As Balltrip there makes a great effort, but that pass just a little bit too far there.
Carries it inside the 30 to the 27 to bring up third and a little bit more manageable.
He's so savvy, Earl, back there in the pocket. They bring a corner blitz or a nickelback blitz. He's coming untouched. But what does the quarterback do? Psych, I'm not throwing it. I'm going to keep it and just get something, right? I don't need to get all the yardage. I just need to keep positive momentum going. So instead of it being 3rd and 10, now you've got 3rd and 7. This is more manageable for an offense that's knocking on the door to get into the red area here.
And ACU is within range for Brandon Perez. For what it's worth, Earl slings it. That's caught. Javon Gibson flagged down in the backfield. It's a first down as it stands to the 16.
All right, this is going to be rough for the passer. You can see Xavier Potts. He's sitting there saying, I don't know what I'm doing. But I think the officials certainly called it, Ted.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 22. Defense, got distance to the goal from the end of the run, automatic. First down.
Now, of course, added to the end of the play, Xavier Potts, the defensive tackle who made some plays in the first half, is the culprit here.
Yeah, and it's not so much of how late the hit was. I think it was bang, bang. It's the fact that he stayed high at the quarterback's head. And that's what they're calling, because he is a defenseless player. Got to learn to pull up, and I know it's so hard to do for these big guys.
So 1st and goal at the 8 with the penalty. Earl swings it to the motion man, J.J. Henry. Henry weaving inside the 5. The former Ole Miss Rebel tackled by Jalen Mayo. It's a gain of 4.
Oh, they come with the half-orbit motion. And it looks like he's going to go all the way across the formation, but then he goes back the other way, and it's all about outflanking the defense. And this is one of the better players in the country, in my opinion, J.J. Henry in open space. Making this defense chase, Ted. That's what you need to do. Make them have to chase you.
Talking about a former Under Armour All-American in high school from McKinney, Texas, north of Dallas. 2nd and goal. Earl under center. The toss to Vaughn. And Vaughn submarined at the 5. Flag thrown from behind the play. Reddick and Southard made the tackle.
Yeah, I think they're going to get George French the
Number
second with the
77,
hold here. He
offense,
just basically,
10-yard penalty, second down.
yeah, it was a takedown. it was WWE. But they go with that imbalanced formation, and they've done this throughout the entire year. It's all about creating matchups, and there's the takedown right there. Easy call for the officials.
Stephen F. Austin far more penalized here today, but this backs up Abilene Christian. Trying to reclaim the lead here late in the third quarter. And it's 2nd and goal from the 14.
You know, they've really been doing a nice job with their formations. They've been able to motion, and it's been able to get this defense a little bit off their marks and create a little bit of uncertainty. And for an offense, that's all you need to do sometimes.
Earl to the end zone. It's incomplete. Intended for Dudley, who wanted a flag. Battling Demings. And of course, the talk back and forth. What did you expect after Dallas Dudley stepped over him earlier on the drive?
I think you might get peak performance Demings here for the rest of this game. And I actually thought Earl might come off of that and throw the corner out at the top to J.J. Henry. He's the inside receiver. No safety help. And he had all that football field to the top to go. And it looks like Earl wanted to challenge Demings again.
Now 3rd and goal. Demings and Dudley at the bottom of your screen. Earl on the rollout, looking that way. And he short arms it, incomplete. Heavy pressure from behind Stone Earl. And it's 4th down. Lawote Jerkin was chasing after Earl.
And it's a great job by Mike Mooks to do something different. You saw the protection break down because everybody's standing up on defense at the line of scrimmage. You don't know who's coming. And at the snap of the ball, it's a free run to the quarterback, and they force the incompletion.
So here's Perez from 31. Hit from 22 on the opening drive of the game. And Perez puts Abilene Christian back in front. But it's got to feel like a win for Stephen F. Austin, their defense, when Abilene Christian had it inside the 5.
I would say so too. And that penalty, you know, the hold there by George French, that was the big moment, I thought, that put him behind the 8 ball, and it put him outside the 15-yard line. And for this defense to rise up and come up and make a play and only, give up 3 points, I think that's a huge win.
Again, the winner of this one heads to the quarterfinal round in the FCS playoffs, which have been turned on their head here today because the #1 seed, the defending champion, the champion 10 times in the last 14 years, North Dakota State, falling at home to Illinois State, 29-28. Just the shocker of all shockers here in the FCS. The dynasty of the Bison wrecked today in what was also a rematch, just like what we have here in Nacogdoches.
I love this game, man. Anything can happen on this gridiron.
I mean, it truly is wide open in the FCS now. Again, the winner of this one will play either Montana State or Yale. Montana State in control of that one in the 4th quarter, 21-6 over Yale. Again, quarterfinal round either Friday or Saturday to be determined. We'll find out later tonight or tomorrow. And if it is Montana State, either SFA or ACU will make the trip north to Bozeman. Vidlac flips it out to Kylan Harris, his top receiver, on 1st down. And a gain past the 30-yard line, about 9 yards.
And that's one of the rare times I felt like they made the Wildcats have to defend every blade of grass. They stretched them out wide. Good first down play call there, because now with 2nd and short, you got this defense a little bit on their heels, and this is where you can take your shot if you like it.
Vidlak might take that shot. Nope, underneath. It's caught by Isaiah Davis. And Davis with a first down. Short gain, but he moves the sticks against Will Schaefer.
Now Isaiah Davis, nice size receiver, 6'1", 195 pounds, senior. A nice complement in this group of very talented receivers for the Lumberjacks.
His 3rd year with SFA after 3 years at UTSA in the FBS. Vidlak hit, and he's dropped. A sack back inside the 35. Cortland Rusall, the defensive tackle who the coaches say has improved as much as anyone on defense this year.
His measurables jump off the chart, but even more impressive is his motor, because he continues on his path and he loops around. And again, for a defensive coordinator not to have to bring pressure, and he can get home with his 4 guys up front, that is an added bonus to this defensive onslaught here.
Stephen F. Austin doesn't have to snap it here at the end of the 3rd. And doesn't look like they will. On to the 4th quarter here in Nacogdoches. This rematch between Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian from week 2, 3 months ago to the day, now to the 2nd round of the FCS playoffs. And it's a 1-score game here in the Piney Woods. Abilene Christian on the road, up by 3. Oh, if the FCS playoffs were a snow globe, Illinois State just grabbed it and shook it up with a 29-28 upset victory in the Fargo Dome over the defending champion North Dakota State Bison, the #1 seed this year. The Bison own the FCS, 10 national titles in the last 14 years. And in what was a rematch from the regular season, Illinois State, 22.5-point underdogs, winning with a touchdown pass from Tommy Rittenhouse in the final minute here today. We're in Nacogdoches. Yes, it is all about Axum Jacks here at Stephen F. Austin. SFA trying to reach the quarterfinals for the first time since 2009. And we start the 4th quarter with Abilene Christian, the #10 seed, up 27-24. This is a rematch as well from the regular season. Ted Emmerich, LaDarren McClain, our entire crew. SFA has it 2nd and 11 as we start the 4th. ACU won that first meeting 3 months ago in Abilene. Sam Vidlak fires to Kylan Harris. That connection has paid dividends all day and all season. A first down across midfield.
Now that's vintage Sam Vidlak. Here it is, RPO, sees a better look with the pass and just gives this guy a chance to make a play. It wasn't a perfect pass, Ted, but the pass is there to where Kylan Harris can make that play. That's a big-time offensive play to convert there for the Jacks.
Vidlak has thrown for more than 200 yards, a couple of touchdowns. SFA had a 14-3 lead in the first half. It was tied at halftime, 17-all. Vidlak again testing the ACU secondary, broken up, but 2 flags. Derek Bowler the target. Jocelyn Malaska was there draped on Bowler.
I love the fact that even on both sides that we got a receiver down and
Bowler remains down.
Bowler, these defensive backs are rising up and challenging the receivers back. And you know, we talked about ACU challenging a talent defensive backs of the Lumberjacks. It's going the other way too. We just hope Bowler's okay. He did land awkwardly on the side there.
Pass interference, #5, defense, a 15-yard penalty, an automatic. First down.
So they call Alaska for the pass interference.
Yeah, here it is. These defensive backs are on islands, and that's a great route there by Bowler to get the inside position. And that might have looked like he just landed and got the air knocked out of him on that one there. Yeah, landed on top of him. And
yeah, good to see Bowler get up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make his way to the sideline with little trouble. So a first down at the 32. Vidlac to the flat, and Wembley, the running back. And Wembley's got another first down, close to the 20-yard line. Tackled by Rashawn Miles Jr., SFA on the move.
You know, there are a lot of quarterbacks, if you give them time, they're pretty good. But in this case, Sam Vidlac is just as good as anybody in the country if you give him time.
Now they hand it to Jarrell Wembley. Breaking through the line. Wembley to the edge, and a flag down as he steps out at the 6. Maybe a hold.
Well, you got Will Schaefer and Eric Gray kind of jawing at each other at the end of that play.
Holding, number 14, offense, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Yeah, Isaiah Davis, the receiver there on the perimeter.
Yeah, and you got to have those types of blocking downfield on the perimeter by your receivers. Yeah, here it is again, going downfield and right there. Didn't really need to do anything. I thought the damage was done by Wembley just getting across the line of scrimmage into the next level of the defense.
So back at the 20. Vidlac slings it to Davis, who commits the penalty, makes up for it with the catch. Ruled out of bounds, just shy of the first down marker.
You got to be under control if you're that defensive back. In that case, Noah Mangum. He comes flying 100 miles an hour, but he's out of control. And then that allowed Isaiah Davis just to sidestep him and almost get to where he can get close to the first down. They're 3 yards short here.
Vidlac to Kylan Harris for the first down, and it's 1st and goal for Stephen F. Austin. Harris just about impossible to cover today.
Well, you have to play him heads up. Mostly defensive backs can kind of cheat to the inside, and they have enough speed to recover if the receiver goes out, but you have to play him heads up. But he's so crafty, Harris, and he can go inside and outside at the blink of an eye.
On 1st and goal, Vidlac, the pirouette, and for Davis, it's over his head. Noah Mangum was stapled to him.
Boy, I really like to look at that play. If he looks back to his right, Clayton Whalen's wide open in the end zone. Hey, run a mesh concept, so you've got guys crossing in the middle of the field, and then you're going to sneak a receiver outside the back and maybe get a one-on-one jump ball, but he goes back and watch that tape. He's going to see Whalen pop wide open in the middle of the field.
On 2nd and goal, Wembley steps out of one tackle, but he can't step out of the grasp of Rousseau.
Boy, Ted, how about the game of Fanua? Fanua's the first guy to flash here, right there. And that gets the running back just a little bit off balance. And like you mentioned, Rousseau coming in cleaning up.
Now 3rd and goal from the 10. Oh, they run it. And it's a touchdown for Wembley. Jarrell Wembley finding a canyon. And Stephen F. Austin retakes the lead.
This offensive line starting to get their stride again. Not only in pass protection, but they've been able to gash this defense and block a hat on for a hat. Once again, the left side of the offensive line, the left guard, Jake Henry, the left tackle, Robert Keller, they do a masterful job of escorting Wembley into the end zone. And when you come into these piney woods, you better get ready to fight, because these lumberjacks can run right at you and over you into the end zone.
Stephen F. Austin, champions from the Southland. Abilene Christian, champions from the UAC. And they are just trading blows today here in Nacogdoches in the second round of the FCS playoffs. Stone Earl, Abilene Christian's dynamic quarterback, getting it done through the air and on the ground. And SFA firing up the running game. Jarrell Wimbley just carried it in from 10 yards out for the go-ahead touchdown. That was not the case in round one between these two teams back in week 2.
Yeah, you know, credit to Coach Ross to stay committed to the run game. That time of possession right there that you're looking at, that's taking at least 1 or 2 possessions extra that they're accustomed to in this game. And credit to coaching staff to stay committed and run the ball and keep Wimbley involved in this game. And I think that is the reason why they're up now. Now, this defense has got to go out there and play because ACU has found their stride offensively as well.
Jacob Hand, line drives it. Here is Radrian Baltrip. And Baltrip hit just shy of the 25. You could argue this is why Stone Earl made his way back to Abilene Christian as a 6th-year senior. Remember, started his career at ACU before. He was essentially a backup the last 3 years, 2 of them at North Texas, last year at Marshall. This season, the opportunity to start, and this moment now in the 4th quarter of the postseason.
And this is what you play for, right? It doesn't matter what level of football that you're at. You know, when you're a kid, all you want, especially if you grow up playing a quarterback, is being in this type of moments right now to where you've got a chance to advance your team in 4th quarter.
And Earl keeps on 1st down. And Earl stopped just shy of the line to gain, a 9-yard pickup.
Now, Ted, we talked about the off-script scrambles and off-script plays that Earl can do, but when they actually call quarterback draws, quarterback keepers, read options, that is the one thing I think this defense has not had an answer for. They don't have anybody spying on Earl, and right there he picks up 9 yards.
Here's Jordan Vaughn on 2nd and a yard, and he makes it back to the line of scrimmage. Kai Thomas wrestling him down, just like he'd wrestle those steer back in high school.
Well, that is right on time, too. And you know how tough it's been, really. Jordan Vaughn has had his way, in my opinion, in this game. And this makes this 3rd down a little interesting here. You know, you think he would have easily picked it up on 2nd and 1.
On 3rd and 1, back to the big back Vaughn. A 1st down and a lot more. At 235 pounds, he is a runaway freight train. Touchdown.
You kidding me? Give me some of that, big fella. My goodness, this guy can fly. And it's almost unfair how big and physical he is, combined with that speed. They weren't catching him. There was no ground being gained. He was pulling away from them the longer the run went on. That is incredible. And what a fantastic athlete Jordan Vaughn is.
And Perez makes it a 3-point lead. Jordan Vaughn had 2 touchdowns the first time around against SFA this season. Try 3 now today. Jordan Vaughn rips off the huge run. Abilene Christian on top. 4th quarter here in Nacogdoches.
That's it. Keep your eye on the right tackle, Luke Roten, right there. So he down blocks, but that creates a pile. But look how athletic Jordan Vaughn is. He high steps it, but then he gets to top end speed. And before the secondary can realize, oh my gosh, he has the ball, he's blown by him. And that is incredible power, athleticism, and then capped off with the speed. It's something that this defense may or not been prepared for, but it is right there in front of their face with Jordan Vaughn today.
How about that? The first 3 touchdown game of Vaughn's career. Spent his first 2 years at Wyoming, now 3 years at Abilene Christian. And he's put the Wildcats back on top here in the fourth quarter in the second round of the FCS playoffs.
And Ted, in today's game, he's a throwback running back because everybody wants the smaller 5'10", 5'9", 180-pound scat back or a guy that can catch the pass out of the backfield. This is a 7-yard deep power I formation, however you want to call it, single eye, whatever, type running back that's a throwback to the old days.
Jordan Vaughn would thrive in the I formation, wouldn't he, at that size? He'd thrive in any offense. Here's Reese on the return for Stephen F. Austin. And the Baylor transfer is stopped near the 30-yard line. Well, Sam Vidlak and the SFA offense right back on the field. Again, coming off that first-round bye, Vidlak didn't complete his first 4 throws, but man, has he been on target since.
Yeah, he looks really good. You know, there's been a couple of times where protection has broken down. You know, really once a couple of times, and then he had the intentional grounding. But other than that, I thought he's been spot on. He's knowing where to go with the football pre-snap, and the velocity on these passes have been on point.
Vidlak rockets it for Bowler, and a little too much on it. Joe Malaska had the coverage for Abilene Christian.
And you can see the game plan again by both these offenses. We're going to challenge the perimeter. We're going to throw the ball downfield. Even if we don't complete it, we want the defense to know that we are capable of doing that and backs them up a little bit. Then we can come to the inside to run or maybe underneath throws.
Now the option pitch to Reese. And Richard Reese getting a block from Blaine Green, the receiver, picks up about 5 yards to bring up 3rd and 5.
Yeah, that's a much better job as we got an offensive lineman down for the Jacks. Rayshon Miles Jr. did a better job that time of setting the edge.
Looks like it's Jake Henry, the left guard. Started his career at Oklahoma State. Now in his second year with Stephen F. Austin. Again, SFA lost their nickel corner, Michael Patterson III, earlier in this second half. He was stretchered off the field. And if we have any information to pass along from SFA officials, we will certainly relay it to you. But good to see Henry back up here.
Yeah. He's had a nice game, too. He's been dominant. We talked about him on that left side. He's next to Robert Keller. He's been doing a fantastic job, and they've dominated. Now you've got to shuffle this offensive line around, and more times than not, Darren Rianco, they move him around as well. It'll be interesting to see how they set this adjustment as they still have Seth Martin in the game as well.
Yeah, because Chimdi Awiwu went down in the first half, the right tackle, so Henry out now as well. And it's 3rd and 5. Nick Holt and that ACU defense trying to come up with a stop. Blitz up the middle. It's handled. Vidlak, a deep shot. Harris has a step. He's got the catch. And Harris is down to the 10 as he barbecued Tyson Williams.
And Ted, this might be the best pass of the game. Watch the pressure. Vidlak stands in there, knows he's about to take a shot, but throws an absolute dime. And it's on the money. And we talked about Harris and his ability to run any route on the route tree. That time he sacks the DB and the pass was on point.
55 yards to Kylan Harris. It's 1st and goal for the Lumberjacks.
And you can see here, they slid Robert Keller to left tackle. And now they've got Darren Rianco at left guard.
Wembley around the end. Flag is down. And Wembley out of bounds near the 4.
Well, you can see there is a lot of jaw jacking going on the field right now. In between plays, in between series. Everybody knows the stakes are getting higher and higher as this game progresses on, and this score is a one-score game.
Again, two teams that know each other very well. They play every year. They've been conference foes. They're not in the same conference anymore, but they see each other every year now for the first time ever meeting in the playoffs.
Offense, 10-yard penalty, will spot the foul. First down.
That's the big one, right? Because it's 10 yards back. Now, you don't lose any kind of down. You have to replay the down, but you lose that valuable yardage.
So first and goal at the 15. And by the way, this is uncharted territory for Sam Vidlak and a lot of the first-team offense. Only 3 times this season have they even played in fourth quarters. They have managed so many blowout victories this season. Now they got to come through in the clutch. Vidlak completes it just inside the 10 to Wembley, the back. So second and goal coming up from around the 9.
Boy, I think that's such a good point that you just said, Ted, that they haven't been this far too many times in games this year. That's a team that won 10 games in a row. So again, this is something new that they got to fight through and try to figure it out.
And all 10 of those wins coming by at least double figures, at least 10. They started 0-2 this year, including a loss to ACU. Vidlak to the end zone. One-handed. It's a touchdown. This back and forth classic continues.
Hey, that's on Sports Center. I don't care. That's the catch right there. That's the moment. It's a pass to the outside. Now the defensive back, what you don't see is actually pass interference. It held it, but you can see how acrobatic and athletic he is to contort his body the opposite way and figure out a way, Ted, to hold on to that thing. That's one of the better plays I've seen all season long, and I've seen a lot of football this year, but that right there in this moment, that's pretty good, and that's on top for sure.
Harris's 10th touchdown of the season. One to remember. He doesn't need 2 hands, LD.
No, he doesn't. All he's saying, man, all I need is a chance. Give me that. I'll take 6. Thank you very much. Well, look at where the pass is, first of all. It's to the outside, but he's facing the opposite way. And so somehow, some way, he locates the ball. And he's just one of these receivers that if he can feel where the ball is, he's got it. And like you said, he only needs one. And I guarantee you, at least today, that is going to be tough to beat in terms of a touchdown reception at any level playing football today.
I think Abilene Christian is tired of facing Kylan Harris, judging by those numbers. And today, it's a playoff program record, 176 yards for Harris.
He's hard to cover, man. You can line him up inside. You can play him outside. They just find ways to get him open. He's a good one.
Well, Abilene Christian will try to fire back with Jordan Vaughn, who's piled up 3 touchdowns himself here today.
Well, the big man has got really, I think, an open book of talent because he can run inside. We've seen the power, but this right here, the breakaway speed, is something that you got to get ready for. And this right here was the icing on the cake because he's able to show some agility, athleticism at the line of scrimmage, and then quickly get to top end speed.
Vaughn had that 66-yard touchdown on the last drive. Stone Earl is sacked on first down. Aaron Austin, his 6th sack of the season, putting ACU back close to the 15.
Man, I am not so sure that Earl may have got blinded by the sunlight, because he pops out of the pocket, Ted, but then he tries to reconnect himself. Watch here, he pops right there. He went from out of the sunlight into the shadow, and by that time, oh my gosh, I didn't see him coming. Here comes big Aaron Austin.
It's not just at AT&T Stadium we have to deal with the sun in the afternoon. Earl escaping. Throwing it back to Vaughn, and he's tugged down near the original line of scrimmage. About 9 yards. Malachi Williams wrapped him up, so 3rd and 10 for ACU.
Yeah, nice play by Earl just to get something on that pass inside to Vaughn. And that play is huge because not only is it 3rd down, you get a chance, but it's 3rd and 10. I think that's a much better projection, you know, than 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 17 or more.
Getting loud in Nac, known as the oldest town in Texas. Trying to will the SFA defense on. Earl the heave. And a diving stab. Charles Demings takes it away. It's an interception as Earl tried to connect with Dudley. The first takeaway of the game by either team.
Now this defense has had 20 takeaways on the season and been a +5 turnover margin as a team. And this shows you how elite Demings is. You play with fire, the saying goes, you're going to eventually get burned at some point in time. Now, here's the good side of that for ACU. Yes, it is an interception, but it was 3rd and long. You threw the ball downfield, so it's looked upon as a short punt. That's how you have to twist these things, but nonetheless, momentum still on the side of the Lumberjacks as they get a takeaway.
And there's a reason Charles Demings is going to get his name called come April for the NFL draft. Wembley on 1st down. He tunnels past the 45-yard line, tackled by Schaefer. Man, Demings and Dudley have been going at it all game long. And Demings wins that matchup. It's such a critical moment.
You know, and as a defensive back, I don't know how, you know, I care how good you are. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But it's about staying the course. Demings certainly has that. And he stayed the course, and he got rewarded with that last pick.
They'd like the short pass to Harris. The record-setting day, Harris adding to his total. And he's tackled right near the marker by Rashawn Miles Jr. So 3rd and short.
I love the fact that Vidlac changes his arm angle there to get that pass out of the flats.
And now the direct snap to Wembley. And Wembley carves his way through the ACU defense for a 1st down. We're approaching the 5-minute mark here. Stephen F. Austin up by 4.
Watch the inside. Look at big number 55 right there, the center. He makes this offensive line and this offense go, Eric Gray, and he eliminates Will Schaefer, who's coming on a run blitz. And that created the space there for Wembley to hit it.
Vidlac to the open man. Green cutting it back. And it's a 1st down inside the 30. Noah Mangum had the assignment for Abilene Christian. SFA moves the chains again.
Really nice job here recognizing the defense. They're playing soft on the outside. Let's raise up and throw the hitch. 1st down completion. Let's move the chains and make these defensive backs have to come up and tackle.
Again, a spot in the quarterfinals at stake. The winner will head to Bozeman to play Montana State, a 21-13 winner over Yale today. Wembley twisted down after a short gain. Rashawn Miles Jr., one of the best defensive players in the FCS, makes the tackle. Now under 4 minutes to go.
Well, you said it. That is a heck of a job by Miles to come all the way behind the formation and make that play.
Now Vidlac named the Offensive Player of the Year in the Southland for a reason. A much different story from 3 months ago to the day in that loss to Abilene Christian, from 3 turnovers to 3 touchdowns. Vidlak to Wembley. Gets a block on the edge. Wembley, a first down. And it's 1st and goal for the Jacks.
Such a great play call here. You're anticipating the pressure of the defense. The run action is just giving the receiver time on the screen, and they set it up nicely. And then you get blocking, and we know how good Wembley can be in the open field. All about timing when you call certain plays, especially when you're trying to cap a game off. They go into their 4-minute offense, and it's not a passive play call. It's just strategically calling the right plays at the right time to kind of milk this thing away and then cap it off with a score.
It is the ultimate danger zone for ACU right now. Wembley hit at the line by Miles. So 2nd and goal. We head toward the 2-minute timeout. Abilene Christian does have all 3 timeouts, and a timeout is called here. 2:29 to go, ACU calling it, so 2 remaining for the Wildcats.
Well, it's absolutely paramount that this defense, Nick Holt, they got to hold it to 3. If they allow 7 points here, that's almost impossible to come at. Not impossible, but it's going to be very close, and so that's going to be the point of emphasis here. We got to make the tackle, keep everything underneath, and let's all be on the same page defensively.
And Stephen F. Austin might consider going for it too on 4th and goal, depending on the situation, where the ball is. They have such confidence in their short yardage package, that GATA package that led to a touchdown earlier in the game with the backup quarterback Gavin Rutherford. Curious to see if he comes out onto the field out of the timeout with them inside the 10, and sure enough, Rutherford is on the field.
Yeah, 2nd down and goal. More times than not, offensive coordinators love play action down on 2nd downs. If you can't do it on 1st, 2nd down is the primo spot, knowing, like we're talking, I've got 3rd and 4th down potentially if I need to try to go in there and get this touchdown.
So yes, the Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year, Sam Vidlak, on the sideline. They've used this package all season long inside the 10. Rutherford hands it to Wembley, and Wembley crashes down close to the 5. Looks like he's marked down around the 6. So 3rd and goal now. Clock stopped at 2:23 as ACU burns another timeout.
Yeah, you see that they're trying to burn these timeouts before they get to that game stoppage at the 2-minute mark, trying to preserve as much time as they can for their offense whenever they get the ball back.
And by the way, Rutherford did throw a touchdown against Abilene Christian in the first meeting back in week 2, and it was around this area of the field. Not quite, the 1-yard line, but outside the 5. Once again, the winner earns a spot in the quarterfinals and a date with Montana State, the number 2 seed, national runner-up a year ago. The winner will head north to Bozeman for the quarterfinals either Friday or Saturday.
Well, I believe both these teams are built to travel. We're seeing a little bit of that here today. Obviously, ACU coming on the road, making this a dogfight. But we got business to take care of now.
So Vidlak is back on the field for 3rd and goal. So out of the GATA package and back into the hands of their veteran quarterback. They hand it, and stuffed. Wembley going nowhere. Will Schaefer and Chris Wright driving him back.
Okay, Ted, what you feeling here? Here it is, inside. It's just a little bit of a missed block there. You can see the frustration there. Big number 74. He missed the block, and that allowed penetration by the defense.
Takes it down to the 2-minute timeout. 4th and goal from the 8 for Stephen F. Austin.
Together at the mountaintop, champions of college football.
And we'll find out who's in the 12-team playoff tomorrow on ESPN. First round getting underway on the 19th and the 20th here in the FCS playoffs. in the second round, out of the 2-minute timeout. Really no hesitation from Colby Carthel and Stephen F. Austin. They're sending the field goal unit out. It's 4th and goal at the 8, which takes any decision really out of their hands. You got to kick it, right?
I completely agree. Make this a 7-point lead if you can help it, and then make this, make Abilene Christian have to do something incredible to drive the length of the field that you hope and get a 2-point conversion to beat you.
Carlos Alvarado from Venezuela, second team All-Southland, as the place kicker. Of course, Jacob Hand had the 48-yard field goal, the bigger leg, right before halftime. But here, from 26 yards, Alvarado trying to make it a 7-point lead. Alvarado sneaks it in. Just a little hairy from that distance, but Colby Carthel can pump the fist.
Yeah. Hey, but job one done for the Wildcats defense. They absolutely have to have, at worst, that result happen for them to have a chance. If they allow a touchdown, man, it's going to be uphill at the highest amount. At least you got a fighting chance here. You can go down here and tie it up, and if you feel really lucky, you can get in the end zone and go for 2. You might sneak out of here with the win.
First things first. Yeah. Trying to drive against one of the premier defenses in the FCS. Not that it has been a lot of trouble for Abilene Christian offensively today against that SFA defense that's not just top 5, but seemingly top 2 or 3 in just about every category on defense.
It's a good group, and they're very athletic. They're very obviously talented, and they play together as a unit, but they've got arguably their biggest moment of the season going on now. If they can hold the Wildcats off the board here.
Well, ACU to start from the 25. This game, LD, has featured 8 lead changes, just back and forth and back and forth.
Well, we kind of expected that. These two teams so evenly matched. These players can rise up at different moments. You've got Windley getting in a couple of times, and now we're seeing the big runs of Jordan Vaughn. He steps up, and then arguably the most incredible catch you'll see there by Kylan Harris. And it all comes down here to the final drive of the game.
And needing a touchdown, 75 yards away. 1:56 to go and just 1 timeout left. Of course, the clocks will stop momentarily with a first down here inside of 2 minutes. Stone Earl, the 6th-year senior, with a flag down from behind him, hooks up with Radrian Baltrip for the first down to the 41. But check the marker back at the 15.
I think they're going to get Luke Roten for holding here.
Holding, number 62. Offense, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
He nailed it.
Well, he's got a tough matchup. He's going against Kai Thomas. Here it is. Thomas fakes inside and then goes outside and just a bull rush. And all Roten can do was just pull him down with him. Boy, that is tough to block. When you see Kai Thomas, it looks like he's going to beat you to the inside, but then he goes around, but then he starts to run over you. That's a tough, tough task for either one of these tackles.
Ball set, clock running now. 1:35 and counting. Earl, a missile. Incomplete for Dudley, who had the step on Davion Hargrove and Aaron Sears.
Yeah, you got to start thinking about yardage here, because you can't make a living with 2nd and 20, a 3rd and 20. And they try to test Hargrove, who's come into the game. First time we've really called his number today.
He's in for Charles Demings right now, who had the interception on the previous drive. So Demings not on the field for Colby Carthel's defense. 2nd and 20. Earl again to Dudley. And this time, it's a catch. And out of bounds, clock stops with Dudley to the 24.
And as an offense, you've got plenty of time. You've got that one timeout. It's not necessarily the time. You've got to think yardage. So now you've got to come up with some chunk plays. And we've seen it enough times, Ted. It's 3rd and 11. You may not get all the yardage here, but you need to at least get half of the yardage. So if it does get to 4th down, you've got a more manageable situation then.
On 3rd and 11, Earl cannot escape. Cowboy Kai Thomas lassos Earl down, and it's 4th down. Clock still rolling. ACU right back over the ball. Season hanging in the balance. And Stephen F. Austin calls a timeout. 36. With exactly 60 seconds remaining. Back to the set.
Well, you know what? Coach Moot said, hey, Kai Thomas is a coordinator on the field, and he's the only one that snuffs this play out. That's the play that's been killing them the entire game, is the quarterback draw, and there he is. Kai Thomas recognizing that, sensing it, and then making the play.
Thomas graduated from SFA 2 years ago. He thought he was done with football. He had a job with a company that made monuments and headstones. Colby Carthel stopped by that office in his hometown of Elkhart, Texas, about 60 miles to the west. Said, Kai, you want to come back? We want you. And Kai Thomas didn't need much convincing. Oh yeah, I still have eligibility? Okay, you have room for me? Great. They moved him from defensive tackle to defensive end. He slimmed down a little bit, and man, has it paid off.
He's the prototypical defensive end. The way that he's built, his athleticism, we talk about that a number of times. These defensive players are very athletic, and the IQ certainly off the charts.
Here's the season for Abilene Christian. 4th and 12.
Well, it's all going to be predicated on what this middle safety does. If you're Earl, you've got to read him. You got to take your shot.
Earl has time on the move. And the pass deflected, incomplete. Jaden Southard got a hand on it. And he's gonna send the Lumberjacks to the FCS quarterfinals for the first time in 16 years.
Well, it's the one time you actually want Earl to be flushed out of the pocket. That means he's not throwing in rhythm. And when you've got the defense that can keep outside contain, but covers the receivers at the same time, you can get hands up in the passing lane. And that's exactly what Southern does there. And it's quite fitting, Ted, that this defense coming up and putting this all to bed and coming up with the stop they needed.
Victory formation for Vidlac and the SFA offense. He'll need to take the knee only one more time. It's written on Colby Carthel's shirt for a reason. East Texas tough, red dirt mindset. And that's going to carry SFA to the quarterfinals.
You know, I thought coming in, either one of these teams, whoever would survive this game, and again, I said survive this game, it's going to be a tough out next week. Or for whoever they have to play, obviously Montana State, but what a fantastic football game we got to witness today.
It is payback for the Jacks from the loss to Abilene Christian in week 2, 3 months ago. Now to the FCS quarterfinals for the first time since 2009. A landmark win for the Lumberjacks here at home. 41-34. As SFA moves on to the FCS quarterfinals to match up with the 2 seed, the Montana State Bobcats in Bozeman, either Friday or Saturday. Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a fantastic matchup. But, man, I'm telling you what, man, this is awesome to watch. We talked about the respect that either one of these teams had for one another. And, man, it came down to the wire. These two teams put on the show today.
This was billed as one of the biggest games that Stephen F. Austin has ever hosted. Their first home playoff game in a decade and a half. And in a classic seesaw game with a rival from about 5 hours to the west in Abilene Christian, Stephen F. Austin powers through, and they play on in the FCS playoffs. Now, Stephen F. Austin quarterback Sam Vidlak about to join us from the field. And Sam is with us now. Sam, first of all, congratulations on the victory. Back and forth the entire game. For a team that hasn't played a ton of close games this season since you lost to Abilene Christian back in week 2, how did you and this team power through here today?
Because we don't blink, we're winners. We know we got in that locker room, we know the coaches we have. Never for a moment did we blink. We were ready for this, we wanted this. I've wanted this my whole life, same as all these other guys on this team. It's a great group and it was a great win for us, but we were ready for that and we welcomed it. We wanted the competition, we wanted to battle. We came out with a win. We're a tough team.
Hey, Sam, this is Ladarian, an analyst for the game today. It looks like you guys wanted to challenge these defensive backs on the perimeter, and Kylan Harris had a phenomenal game, but it looked like the mindset was to attack, and you guys didn't let off the gas pedal.
Yeah, never timid, always attack. That's one of our mottos here, and I believe in all those guys we got on the offense. The O-line did a great job today, running backs, tight ends, and like you're talking about, those receivers are great playmakers, and they're dynamic. And anytime you have Kylan Harris to throw it to, it's a great option. So I'm proud of our guys and how we responded to adversity, back and forth all game. We were the tougher team, and we found a way to win, and I'm fired up about it.
Sam, you and your team are now on to the FCS quarterfinals. This is a spot that Stephen F. Austin has not been since 2009. What makes this team so special that it's making that kind of history?
I think it's the love in the locker room we have for one another. It's such a tight-knit group. We all made a commitment to come back after last season. We felt like we had unfinished business, and everybody came back. Everybody believed in what we had. We worked for it. We're continuing to work. We're chasing our dreams, and it's a great group, great coaches. So fired up about these fans today. This is a great showing for us, and just a special day for SFA. Really just proud to be a Lumberjack.
Enjoy the celebration, Sam. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Sam Vidlak, the 3-touchdown performance here today. He was on target.
Yeah, and it all started with a simple thing. I thought the first quarter, the first run play that he did, and once he got out and running, he started to light them up with his arm. And then he started to exploit the matchups. And if you get players like Kylan Harris to make catches like that, you've got a fighting chance. And I thought they took advantage of what the defense was giving them, and Vidlak was on point whenever he needed to be.
Vidlak, 3 turnovers in that loss to ACU back in week 2, and 3 touchdown passes here today as SFA avenges that loss and moves on to the quarterfinals to play Montana State.
Yeah, this was a great one. And I said again just a few minutes ago, whoever came out of this game was going to be a tough out against whoever they played next week. And man, I hate either one had to lose, but credit to Stephen F. Austin to battle their way. And we say it's avenging the loss. They may not say it, but again, they battled away, and hats off to them to advance. And credit to Abilene Christian for the season that they had as well. That's a good football team on the other side, too.
It'll be SFA and Montana State in Bozeman in the quarterfinals next week. Of course, remember, the FCS second round continues tonight on ESPN2, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, Rhode Island and UC Davis. Here in Nacogdoches, SFA moves on with a 41-34 victory over Abilene Christian. Now for Ladarian McLean and our entire crew, Ted Emmerich saying so long from the Piney Woods.